Welcome back, everyone. We're doing another watch along, and I got my man from Around the Table Sports, Ty Hayes. Ty, how you doing today?
Man, I'm doing great. Got a lot of exciting things to talk about. Great guests. So what's not to be excited about?
Well, listen. Everybody knows about me. Listen, I'm not an Auburn football fan. You know how I feel about Auburn football, but the statute of limitations have finally ended. It's been 18 years. I can finally say, without feeling bad about it, the 2004 Auburn football team was probably one of the greatest football teams I've ever seen in my entire life. Would you agree, Ty?
I mean, yeah, that 2004 season as a whole is an iconic one for several different reasons, and iconic in how football is where it is now. But that 2004 Auburn team ends the year undefeated. I mean, when you really break it down, they were a super exciting team to watch on several different stages of what they were able to do.
Looking back at it, I was a young man playing football, playing my heart out, did everything I was supposed to do, and didn't get cheated. How would you feel? But however, it was an exciting time to be an Auburn football fan, and it was time to celebrate. And how we got to that point is real simple. And the man who's going to tell us a little story about that time is the one and only, the guy who got hired on as offensive coordinator from Indiana. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Al Borges. Al, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, guys. How about you?
Doing wonderful, man.
Doing fantastic. Very happy for you to be here.
My first
I'm
question
excited to be here. I kind of get the EBGBs a little bit because I know I'm kind of in an Alabama audience here, but I'm okay.
You're safe here, Coach.
Okay.
Okay, we're not going to talk over me no more, Ty. Al Borges can talk over me. You can't. That's what I thought, Ty. All right, my first question is real simple. You come from Indiana after 2 seasons. Why did you come to Auburn?
Well, that's a no-brainer. I mean, you had a great I went from a school that was really kind of a basketball school, and was struggling getting the football program on its feet. I had an opportunity to go to Auburn, but I'm telling you, it was kind of a long shot opportunity because when I first heard about the job, they'd already interviewed 3 guys. And from what I'd heard, they were going to make a decision like within a week. So I talked to the strength coach there who I had worked with at UCLA, Kevin Yoxel. And Yox went in and kind of fired a shot for me with Tuberville. But he told me, he said, I don't know, man. Thing's kind of in the fourth quarter. I don't know if you can get this job. So when I hung the phone up, I said, no, I don't know if I'm leaving Indiana, Well, not a day or two later, they called me up and said, hey, they want to talk to you. I said, I'd have crawled over 1,000 miles of broken glass to go to Auburn because at that time I was drowning in my own spit at Indiana. So I got the job, or I went and interviewed for the job. I got the job, but it was the atmosphere at Auburn at that time was a little bit dicey because they had come off a 2003 season that was below expectations, and the image of the football team was that they were underachieving. Now you got to understand, guys, they didn't know who the hell I am. Okay, I'm a California guy who was coaching in the Midwest. I don't know the culture. I don't know I never coached in the SEC. I'd coached at some big time places, but I had never coached in the SEC, which to me is the pinnacle of football, pinnacle of college football anyway. I came in there. The 2003 season was, like I say, is a little dicey. They darn near fired Tuberville. The expectations weren't anything like they were in 2003. In 2003, publications had Auburn as high as 1, some of them, and rated 6, I think, at the beginning, and the expectations were off the hook. Well, this year, there wasn't much noise about that because they came off an 8-5 season where the buzz just wasn't what it was. So there wasn't really any noise. I came in without people thinking, well, let's see what happens. That's kind of the mentality. It wasn't, we're going to kill him. It was more, let's see what happens. I was not a popular pick. People said, why the hell would they hire this guy? I don't think a lot of people looked at my background beyond Indiana. But those who did knew that I would be a good pick. But when I came in, I had a couple of deals to deal with. I had to deal with the residuals of Jetgate. which I talk about in my book, Deny of the Tiger. I talk about the residuals of Jetgate, and that was the scars and the bruises that the guys had dealt with because they'd almost gotten fired, okay? They knew who was on their side, and they knew who was on the other side. Me, I was Switzerland. I just came in. I don't want to even talk about all that stuff. But that being said, it was still there. It was always the elephant in the room, always. And so at the beginning, I was taking over for Hugh Nall, who had been the coordinator before. With that in itself is a little dicey, you know. Hugh was a great line coach, but I think he was a little bit of a sacrificial lamb because of the season, but because he's such a good line coach, they kept him on. We had a real good chemistry as a staff, and we made it work, you know. Now, the game we're going to talk about, we're going to go over is Arkansas, which I thought really was kind of the pinnacle of our offensive effort that year. We had interesting metamorphosis on offense because we weren't hitting our stride early in the season. We were still kind of getting a feel for things. We were winning, but we were kind of winning because we were good. You know, we weren't winning because we were a masterpiece of execution. We played Louisiana Monroe in the first game, which we outgunned. They were better than that. We beat them, I think, 33-0. And we'd have beat them, I think, no matter how we did. We played Mississippi State at Mississippi State. The second game played really well. Mississippi State was not a great team, but it was not a bad team. We beat them handily, and then we played LSU. Now, this was the game, the war. These people had won the national championship before, extremely well coached. Nick was their head coach. Jimbo was their offensive coordinator. Will Muschamp was their defensive coordinator. So not only are you dealing with a very talented team, you're dealing with a very well-coached team. We snuck out a win 10-9, okay? I call it the Mulligan game, where we got to kick an extra point twice because they had a penalty. And now, after that, we started thinking, you know what, we can pretty much play with anybody if we could play with them. But after
I heard that Nick Saban coach was pretty good.
What's that?
I heard that Nick Saban coach was pretty good.
Nah, not really. No, Nick is a ball coach. I've said this on other podcasts. Nick is a pure ball coach. Yes, he's a CEO, but Nick is a football coach from the bottom of his feet to the top of his head. So when you're going to play against Nick's team, you better bring your A game, okay? Well, getting back to what I was saying is we played Tennessee a couple games later, and then we hit our stride. We took them apart in Knoxville. The game was over at halftime. And then I could feel the synergy. We played another team. Maybe it was La Tech, and then we played Arkansas. And this is the game we're going to talk about. In my book, I call it a play caller's dream. That's the name of the chapter. A play caller's dream. Now, what's a play caller's dream? A play caller's dream is when you can shut your eyes and point to a play on your call sheet, and it works. There's some days you look at that call sheet, and it's a blur, okay? I didn't have very many of those that year. Most of the games that I called, they weren't necessarily a play caller's dream, but they all had a chance. But the Arkansas game, especially the beginning of the game in the first half, we were executing as well as we executed all season. But that's what brought me. That's what we're going to talk about. That was kind of the evolution of my time, or my first year at Auburn. I went through several different phases. I came into the South. I had to learn the culture. You know, I had to learn how people talked. I listened to Joey, and it brings me back, and he still talks like one of those Alabama guys. I still don't understand y'all. I know what you say. I know somebody started talking like that, so everybody talked like that, I guess. But I never really did, although I picked up a couple colloquialisms. I caught myself saying y'all and all that. I did I call it in my book, I call it my cousin Vinny moment. I think I talked to you about this before, Joey. It's kind of Vinny Gambini from my cousin Vinny. When I came in, I didn't know how to talk. I didn't know anything about the food. I didn't know how to make grits taste good. I didn't understand people. I had language barriers, even with my own players. Jason Campbell, who's coming on later, I could tell you I had trouble understanding him sometimes. But the good thing about it is I transitioned quickly. I'm a fairly quick study, and I'm a bit of a chameleon. So I got into the situation. Got comfortable, and we started winning. And when you're an outsider, if you're a winner, they don't care in the South. They don't care if you're an outsider. They don't care if you know a mint julep from a magnolia tree. If you can coach, you're accepted. If you don't win, That's a whole different thing. Then you become an outsider. But I didn't ever do that. I loved living in Alabama. I love the fans. And when I say that, I love the Auburn fans because I'm an Auburn guy. But the Alabama fans are similar. I mean, they wear red and they scream "Roll Tide." I mean, but really, they both kind of think the same. You know what I mean? They think about 24/7 football. That's what they do. 24/7 football, and then everything else when they get a chance. Okay, they'll starve their kids, but they'll never give up their football kids. Okay? That's the Alabama fans, you know. And I group both the Auburn and the Alabama fans together, and I just love it. And I found somebody with all the time I had coached. I finally found a fan base that loved the game as much as I love the game, and that made it so cool. So,
well, are you ready to go back? You ready to go down memory lane? You ready to get
absolutely? Let's do it.
All right, here we go. Now I remember this game. I believe, if my memory serves me right, this is the first time I've seen this game in 18 years. I remember that this is the famous flea flicker game that I saw on this game. The only time I was like, oh my goodness gracious, this team is something to deal with. When I saw this play, the flea flicker. I think he's on this game. I'm not sure. We'll see. But we're back.
First quarter.
Auburn versus Arkansas, 2004. All right, 3-2 Arkansas versus undefeated Auburn. Here we go.
All right, the whole idea here, guys, was get the ball to the left hash mark because we were going to run the trick play somewhere in the first 3 to 4 plays, but we weren't going to run the ball. We weren't going to run the play unless the ball was at the left hash mark. So the first play from scrimmage, I called a play pass double hitch where we had both outside receivers running little 5-yard hitch routes. The quarterback was going to fake an isolation play, come off the fake, and preferably throw the ball to the split end to his left, which would have put the ball on the left hash mark. Okay, so you can see here we're lined up in an offset eye, and we're just trying to pull the defense up on the run. See them all fly up, bam, then just shoot it out there. Now the ball's on the left hash. Okay, now we're in good shape. The second play, I believe I called a run to the left to keep the ball on the left hash, okay? And hopefully it will get a first down because I wanted to call the flea flicker on a first down knowing that you're more likely to get a gross run defense, okay? So all this is in the opening 15, 17 plays, but I knew the flea flicker was going to come up within the first 3 to 4. So this should be, I believe, a run to the left just to keep the ball on the left hash mark. Yeah, this you can see that's just an open side bob play, back on backer. Cadillac gets the first down. Now the stage is set. We got it right where we wanted. It's 1st and 10. The ball's on the left hash mark. We have reasonably good field position, so it's a low-risk trick play, okay? I've run this play at UCLA. I ran it at Boise State. I've run it almost everywhere I've coached before, and we always ran it early in the game when we knew we were going to get gross reactions from the run defense. The Arkansas safeties were fast-filling safeties, sometimes adding in as many as 9 players to the front, which made them vulnerable to what we call a crack and go. Now, if you watch the top receiver, he'll break inside very slowly and then shoot past the guy at the last second. Safeties both came blowing up, and, well, you can see what happened.
Love that play.
Tackle him! Oh, I'm sorry. I had an Alabama flashback. Sorry.
Oh, you know what's great, Joey? I know what happens, so you can scream tackle them all you want.
Now,
what's funny is all the coaches, I told them I was going to call the play early, and they all go, come on. I go, Al, are you sure this thing will work? I go, just trust me. But if I would have polled the coaches and asked them if they wanted me to who wants to run the play early in a game, every guy would have said no. So I said, the hell with it, I'm the coordinator, I'm calling it early in a game. So it worked out. And they were smiling from ear to ear once we scored. So
tell me about Devin. What you think of him as a football player?
Who, Devin?
Yes, Devin.
Well, let's watch this one more time.
Okay.
You can see everything should look like a sweep to the right. See that? And now soft toss back, and Courtney Taylor stands there to be the personal protector for the quarterback. And the key is Devin had to be very patient so he could feel the defense bite the run. If he took off too fast, they'd recover and smell a rat, and he wouldn't be as open. For him, that wasn't easy. Now, this answers your question, Joy. He was as fast as grease lightning. He could run by anybody now. He had speed. And he played that role for us as a receiver.
Mm-hmm.
His receiving skills were good, but Benabamanu's were probably better. But Devin could run. So anytime we wanted to take the ball behind the defense, our first option was to go to Devin. And more often than not, he was reliable.
Coach, quick question. Did y'all run a high degree, or not even a high degree, but had y'all implemented the reverse? Because those safeties at Arkansas looked like they were expecting that reverse. They bit so much on that fake, leaving him to be so open on that back end.
That question will be answered here a little bit later on in the game.
Gotcha.
But yeah, we were a reverse team. We were going to run 2 to 3 reverses in a game. So, there was a high awareness of that play. And you can see now this gives you a great look at. Watch Devin. Now the patience. You'll see the safety, near safety, and the corner will actually run into each other. Watch this. They'll start inside. They run, and bam, they bang into each other as Devin starts to break to the post. That's a great picture of it. Now watch the burners. Pitch. Now, as soon as Courtney pitches that ball back, he's got to sit right in front of Jason in case somebody leaks off. He's going to take him. This is something that Matt Jones was good at. Naked bootlegs, faking one direction, throwing the other direction, and giving him run-pass options because that's really in his power zone. He's a big dude now, but he's surprised you. As big as he is, he was fast. And you'll see later in the game, he takes off on a run. I couldn't believe how fast he was running for a guy 6'5", and God knows I don't know how much he weighed, but
I remember watching him take a run. I forget who they were playing once, but you see him running and you're like, okay, well, he's moving. But as you think he's moving at a certain speed, you just see everybody else start fading behind him as he takes off. I could not believe how fast he was.
Yeah, he is fast. And Houston did a nice job, I thought, of using his skill set to make the offense go. He wasn't going to be a guy that stood in the pocket and threw 35, 40 passes and beat you that way. He was a guy that had to run a little bit of run pass option stuff, a little bit of quarterback draw, maybe some +1 runs with a quarterback, just some stuff that catered to his skill set.
One of those guys that almost uses their legs as an extension of the passing game to create havoc.
Yep.
The offense was great on his team. But we got to give a lot of credit to Gene Chizik and what he did with his defense.
I think the linebacker plays fantastic.
You talking about us?
Yes, Gene Chizik.
Yeah, we were complete defensively, and I talk about the speed, but we were also very instinctive. Travis Williams was a very instinctive player who could spot plays before they were run. Will Herring, our safety, was the same way. And Junior Rosegreen was an intimidator in the middle. I mean, if you took the ball in the middle, you took your life into your hands because he was going to blow you up if he was anywhere close. Our pass rush was consistent. We played a lot of defensive linemen, so we kept guys fresh. We had the best corner in the country, the Thorpe Award winner with Carlos Rogers, who was a first-round draft pick. We just weren't weak anywhere. That's how you win all your games is you just didn't have a lot of weaknesses. See, those 4 defensive linemen they show, they would play in early downs, but you'd see later there'd be a change to 4 better pass rushers.
It's incredible, Coach, because you've said that y'all weren't the biggest team, but you watch the line of scrimmage, and y'all are almost dictating the line of scrimmage on a lot of these plays, which is just, a testament to the physicality y'all were playing with at that point.
Well, we had a kid in there named Jay Ratliff. I don't know if you remember Jay. He could not consistently be blocked. He was just and I can tell you from practice, because we tried to block him in practice, and we had a good offensive line, but he just tossed bodies around. He was really tough. And then Brett Edens, who was a defensive end, not the greatest pass rusher, but a great role player. He stopped the run. Marquise Gunn was the same way. They're really good against the run. And, when it came past time, we just put different dudes in there,
First down.
Mm-hmm. But you can see there's different. That must have been a third down right there because I can see different bodies in the game.
No, it's 1st and 10.
It was third, I believe. They just got the first off of that.
Through that, though. Yeah. Now you should see, the Edens and the Gunn, Ratliff, all those run type defenders will be in the game, because that's kind of the way Chiz did it. Is he just made sure he got the best bodies that could defend the scenario, and if it was 1st and 10, we usually played with better run defenders.
Now, here's a question I always want to ask a coordinator. You see Gene Chizik up in the stands in the coach's box. You always stayed on the field. Why is that?
Well, I did both. I did at Auburn. I was on the field, and the reason I did that, because at Michigan I was always in the booth, and it was all kind of based on the dynamic. I had Joe. You got to understand, when I took it, I had a very, very fragile quarterback. He had not experienced enough success to be completely convinced he was capable. So I wanted to be accessible for him in every football game, particularly in situations that weren't going where it wasn't going as well. And I don't think you can get that kind of eye-to-eye contact or feel for the player when you're up in the booth. So I was much more inclined to be on the field. I can call a game from the field because I got a guy in the headset to tell me what's going on. Now, if I don't feel that sense of urgency as much, I may go up in the booth. I spent 20-something years in the field. I spent about 7 or 8 years in the booth. To be honest with you, I didn't find it either a hell of a lot different for me. So some guys will say, "Oh no, you got to go in the booth." Nah, it's not for everybody. Some of the best play callers I know were on the field. So kind of to each his own, and every scenario can be different.
That's a great question.
Well, thank you, Tom. I learned it from you.
One of the few things you will learn from me.
By the way, you can check out Ty Hayes on Around the Table Sports. It's one of my favorite YouTube pages. I stole
is that an Alabama page?
General college football.
General college football. I stole all my content from that page. So please go check them out at Around the Table Sports. CTS is actually a college football, which is a bunch of Alabama fans, unfortunately. So we should talk more about Alabama.
I love Alabama fans because they care. They really, really care.
It's funny. I had a conversation with someone not long ago, and we were talking about the whole Twitter fans, right? And like how certain teams have Twitter fan bases who, they just are on it all the time. I had someone asking me what I thought about it, and I was almost very analogous to you. I was like, well, it's awesome because that's a passionate fan base. Like,
no question.
I'd rather see a fan base be just doing outlandish takes and really believing it than a fan base being dejected before the season even starts.
No question.
All right, there's Jason. He's great.
This nice improv play by Jason. He got flushed to his left, kind of backed out and reset and hit Ben off an improv play, which you got to practice these plays, even though they're not really the way you draw them on the board. But
going back to what you said earlier, this year, this was not the Jason Campbell that we saw prior to our Borges coming onto the Auburn.
No, and I think after the LSU game, Joey, that was when the biggest change took place. I think when he made those plays in the LSU game that won the game for, helped win the game for, made a difference. Right here, he's audible into a sweep. He sees that guy come up in blitz position, so he checks it to a sweep the other way. That's good.
This guy right here gave me nightmares.
Yeah.
I hated this guy. I hated him.
Yeah.
That's a lack right there. You can't hate him.
That
guy's a man.
I hated him
that
and
guy
Ronnie.
was unbelievable.
He was unbelievable. Great player. Great instincts, incredible toughness. Very seldom did the first guy tackle him, as you're going to see here in a second. You can see Troy Reddick turning that guy inside. Safety misses lack. And as soon as there's contact, he's always going to fall forward.
That acceleration, man.
Yeah.
Oh, Ty.
Here's your reverse.
Courtney Taylor. That's another guy.
Courtney Taylor, probably what I thought was our best run after catch guy, our best reverse runner. Him and Ben Abamano were both excellent reverse runners. And this was all set up. We were trying to bait the defensive end into closing hard and then just wrap that guy around him. You can't really see it from that angle, but you can see Ronnie Brown is leading it. But you asked about reverses. There you have it. Who's that?
Who's that guy?
Jiminy Christmas, lose some weight.
Who's that handsome young guy right there?
Yeah.
I know that guy.
Yeah. Here's a little lead draw.
Jesus loves me. Tackle him, damn it.
No chance.
Anybody want to take the bet? I got Auburn on this game. Anybody want to take it?
That's a good bet.
I think that's a smart one. Yeah.
We did a watch along with Tommy Bowden, and I remember I was doing it with Spencer, and I told him, I was like, I got Clemson on this game, and he's like, if you give me 14 points, I'll take that bet.
It's a winner.
I love watching these old games.
It's so interesting to see. Not all that much time has passed, but I mean, you just look at all the evolutions within football, both schematically to then the playoff first, BCS. Now you look at the transfer portal, NIL. I mean, things are just evolving so rapidly.
You got all kinds of stuff going on that I didn't have to deal with, thank God.
Yeah.
And another thing a lot of people don't know about this season, this was the first year the instant replay was in college football. This season right here, I think it was the Big Ten. Hey, Al Borges.
I don't know. They're giving that guy way too much time.
Look what he did to his offense. Wouldn't you be?
Little option play. Every so often, you got to throw one of these at him.
Who's the head coach? Who's the head coach in 2004? Mike Shula?
Yes. Yeah.
Why? I want to call Mike and it's like, why didn't you just call Al Borges? You got him from Indiana.
Well, I'll let you handle that, Joey. I'm going to stay out of that one.
I'll let you handle that one, yeah.
Houston Nut, ladies and gentlemen. What?
I like that, Coach.
You like Houston Nut?
Oh,
no,
yeah,
I'm saying
Houston's a good man. I love Houston. He's a good guy. Years ago when I was at UCLA, Houston paid me to come out and clinic his staff when he was at Arkansas. First year or 2 years, I think his second year. And I got to know him and his staff really well, and I really had a lot of respect for Houston.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. I never met him. I heard he was a nice guy. It seemed like he was going to leave Arkansas prior to the season.
Yeah, I don't know. I just know he's done a pretty good job wherever he's been. He was good at Murray State when he started, and he went to Boise. He wasn't there very long, but then he got to Arkansas, and it was kind of his power zone. He was an Arkansas kind of guy, and they flourished under him for a while. So then went to Ole Miss. Didn't do a bad job at Ole Miss either. So he's been a pretty consistent head coach. There's Coach Broyles.
Yep. Passed away.
He did. He's wonderful. I met him at the Broyles Awards back in '97 and '98 when I was fortunate enough to go to the Broyles Award. I got a chance to meet Coach Broyles.
She seemed like she had a good life.
Yeah.
Beautiful lady too.
Is she?
Out of respect.
Yep.
All right, 10-0, Auburn. Crowds screaming "War Eagle." What just happened?
Yeah, this place jumps down, especially SEC games. If it's an SEC game, there's electricity in that stadium second to none. It's pretty cool. I really.
Yeah, the fans at Jordan-Hare Stadium can get on your nerves.
Yeah.
Yeah. True story. Auburn fans tried to get me arrested.
Did they really? They didn't get it done?
It was a joke. It was a joke. It was.
I would have thought that'd be pretty easy to do. It was
2009 Iron Bowl, and of course I was with my fiance at the time, now my wife and her son, and they had two Auburn jerseys. I had an Alabama jersey. Anyway, we started getting our seats, and then they saw me coming, and of course I'm surrounded by a bunch of Auburn fans. And all of a sudden I hear this lady say, "Excuse me, sir," trying to get to the sheriff, the deputy who was doing security. Can you get him? He shouldn't be sitting right here, and then the cop playing along, trying to put me in cuffs, and they're like laughing. Welcome to Auburn. And I was like, crap ain't funny. See
So
how
they
you laugh
didn't
at
get you arrested?
It's like how I was laughing when the time I just played along. And I was like,
But
But
you
anyway.
didn't get arrested then?
No.
Oh, yeah. Well, give me a shot at it. I'll get you arrested.
Give me a,
And then after all that crap, they were like, "Oh yeah, welcome to Auburn." It was like, little fun fact: that 2009 Iron Bowl was the day Tiger Woods got in trouble.
Yeah. It wasn't fun for a Tiger.
fun from whose perspective?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, defense playing their butts off. Look how big Matt Jones. Look how big. Holy smoke. He gets up. He's as big as our D lineman and bigger than our linebackers. Not bigger, much bigger. Look at him.
He's just so deceptively athletic.
Yes. Yes, very much so. Travis, he's coaching. Where is he now? Central Florida? He was at Auburn for a while.
Dead ball foul right here.
So, Coach, coming into this game, I know we talked about Auburn finished up with the top offense, but Arkansas had a real potent offense coming into this. What was the game plan to try and contain that so that y'all's offense could flourish and the defense could just do what they do?
Well, that's a lot better question for Gene Chizik than it is me, but I think just on the surface was to contain Matt Jones. He not necessarily stop him, but try and get it to where he doesn't just kill you. Keep him in the pocket as much as you can. And so that he's got to do everything from there, because outside the pocket, you can see he's really a headache. And Monk, that wide receiver they had, 85, had some speed and could hurt you, particularly if Jones could buy time to get him the ball, which he does later in the game. But that was really it. Our job offensively was to keep them off the field and keep Arkansas on the back pedal. That was it. And that was part of the defense. That carries over the defense too. Make them play catch up, and make them do some things that they don't necessarily want to do. But I think most of our plan, if you talk to Chiz, and again, I don't know every intricacy to it, but he'd probably tell you it was geared to containing Matt Jones. Yeah, there's another thing made a difference, guys. We put Cadillac back returning punts. Boy, did that change a lot of things field position-wise. He just was a great punt returner, and it gave us opportunities to not play with our back to our goalpost,
Mm.
Yeah, that guy, he could just about do it all, couldn't he, Coach?
Yeah, he could. He was amazing. He had a pretty good NFL career, but he had a great NFL career had he not got injured. He was Rookie of the Year his first year, on his way to God knows what. But he got hurt. Ronnie stayed healthy, and he got hurt, and that's really the difference, because there wasn't 6 months of difference between the two.
I think Ronnie Brown and Jason Campbell had a pretty decent.
They did.
Jason Campbell definitely had a great NFL career.
Yeah, they all had pretty solid NFL careers, but they were NFL players. They belonged there, and when they showed up the first day, they looked like they belonged. So I don't think it's any surprise. There's Jake Slaughter. See Jake Slaughter take that guy. Jake Slaughter would play fullback third to half the time when Ronnie was playing the halfback. See, this was Ronnie's series to play halfback, so Jake would be at fullback every time. Now in the other series, here's the Evil Empire. Here we go. There's SC. Oh God, I don't like them. I like them about as much as I like Alabama, but. But Jake was kind of one of the unsung heroes. You didn't hear much about him because he didn't carry the ball. But
and there he is again, taking on that
ball. Ronnie.
Hey, what better name for a fullback than Slaughter? Huh? That's a good name,
right?
Yeah.
And he seems all too happy to fill that hole to provide the space.
Yeah, no, he'll bloody your nose in a minute. Laugh about it later.
That's awesome.
He's just one of those guys. He's
Now
tough.
you see this national rankings this season. You see this chart. Are y'all thinking national championship at this point, or y'all just thinking SEC?
Yeah, we're thinking we got a chance. I don't think we're thinking we're good enough to do it, but I don't know that that's really the locker room talk yet. Here's a great throw. Watch him drop this ball over the top to Devin. That was a great throw. We were actually trying to get Ronnie Brown down to the post on that play, but they defended the post. Jason came off Ronnie and just made a beautiful little throw right over the top. Look at the touch on that. And then a little tap dance on the sideline. That's pretty cool.
That was beautiful.
Beautiful throw.
I wish you coached at Alabama.
Yeah, that's really nicely done.
Why didn't you just stay in Indiana where you belong?
Look at that. First quarter, almost 100 yards.
Coach.
Yeah.
Why didn't you just stay in Indiana?
Well, because I wanted to win. That's because I couldn't go undefeated at Indiana.
Oh, look at this. Flags down.
Yeah, they jumped. That's Carl Stewart. Carl Stewart played better. Now, see, that's funny. That's a play that on the game plan was designed for Ronnie Brown at fullback, But because Ronnie was playing tailback, Carl went into fullback, and he ended up taking it, which wasn't bad. Carl, very talented kid. But really, we had set that play up for Ronnie. But we just got caught in a rotation there where he didn't get the ball and Carl did. But, it wasn't any big deal. But it would have been one more touch for Ronnie Brown. We were always trying to find ways, any different way to get Ronnie the ball, whether not hand it to him or in the perimeter or somehow, whether it was a screen or a reverse or something where he could get a touch.
Kind of one of those guys where even if he's just on the field, his presence is something for the defense to account for.
Well, what's funny about that, Ty, is as we went through the season and people became more and more aware of him, we started using him to decoy some other guys. And it really was good in getting other guys touches,
Y'all were out there playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers.
Yeah, the higher profile the kid gets, the more focus is on him, and it gets other people more involved, sometimes by design, sometimes just by happenstance. But that's what we found with Ronnie.
And there's our future national champions right there, Texas.
Don't even say that, Joey. You're really pissing me off right now. And every so often we go to a little 10 personnel or 4 wide receiver group. As you can see here, Jason's checking off, and I can't even remember what the deal was, but he went to an inside zone to Cadillac, and for whatever reason, I don't remember right now exactly what, but it was probably something that was on his sheet that told him if he saw something, get out of it, kill the play, and get to something else. And Jason was good at that. He understood the offense and could get us into plays that I didn't necessarily call. I used to tell him, don't make me look dumb, make me look smart. If you don't like it, get me into something, make me look smart. I'm not an easy guy to make look smart, so that was a chore.
Tad, did you see that little logo on the football field earlier? The AOL?
Yeah.
See, I know you're a little young. That was what we call internet back in the day. It's okay. We got other stuff we can teach you. Us old timers.
I didn't have internet until I got to college because I grew up on the horse ranch in the middle of nowhere.
Courtney Taylor. Jesus, love that. That was a little more about Courtney Taylor.
So reliable in the middle.
What do you think of Courtney Taylor as a football player?
Oh, he's just tougher now. This is the stuff he could do. Is anything thrown between the hash marks, he was the guy you wanted to get it to because he was tough as nails. He was going to catch the ball. He was going to knife to the defense and always fall forward. Just a very good run after catch guy and tough as you could be. Not afraid to do dirty work. Another check off. Ran out of time. We got to call a timeout. All right, let's talk about it. That's my fault because he didn't have enough time to check that play. That play should have come in earlier. Anytime he's got down to 3 seconds and he's got to call a timeout, it's probably the play caller's fault. You got to get the ball. They got to get the play in faster.
I've often wondered that because this year it seemed like with Alabama, Bryce Young and the offense had more than I think what was normal for an Alabama offense in terms of delay of game. And I always wondered whether it was just a new quarterback trying to identify the defenses or it was them trying to decide what to flip to.
It could be a lot of things. You don't know sometimes, you know. Oh, here's one. It's hard count. See, we intentionally tried to draw them off sides. I talk about this in the book.
Oh.
Okay, and what we're trying to do is hard count them so they'll jump and we can throw a bomb. If they don't jump off sides, then we just run a play. I give Jason a play, and he only knows the play. Nobody knows. There's no play called. They're just waiting for him to jump off sides so they can jump, block inside, and throw a bomb. And this time they accommodated us, so he hit him for a touchdown. But if they didn't jump off sides, then he'd call a play. But no lineman at this point, when they go to the line of scrimmage, knows what the play is because there's no play that's been called.
Was Tommy Tuberville right there giving you a raise?
Oh, I don't know. I should have mentioned something right there, though. I should have said
mentioned.
I was going to wait till the season was over. You know, I want to make sure I still had my job, and then I could go in and scream for more money.
All right, we're going 17-zip, y'all. Still in the first quarter.
Yeah. Courtney Taylor, watch him run. Watch him take this ball. 50-50 ball.
Ty, is this the first time you ever seen this team, this 2004 Auburn team?
No, it wasn't.
No, I went through all the DVDs when I wrote the book. I've seen all these plays are fairly fresh in my mind because I just went over it when I wrote the book. I had 13 DVDs. I wrote the book first. I wrote the book first, but whipped it out in about 3 weeks. But then I went back over all the DVDs, Arkansas, of course, being one of them. And I'm telling you, I could write another book just watching the DVDs because so many things occurred to me that didn't occur to me when I wrote the rough draft. And I just went back over and started filling stuff in. You know, like when you saw that timeout, right? That timeout, we had to call a timeout, and he comes to the sideline. I can remember a lot of things that I told him, you know. Then you have these little things here where they show you the illustrations. You can see the right end jump off sides, quarterback take the drop. Just two guys going out for a pass, and either we're going to get a 5-yard penalty with an incompletion or a touchdown. And once in a while, you get a pass interference.
I don't think I could have walked the ball to him any better than that was thrown.
Oh, he made more incredible throws that season. I mean, that got him drafted in the first round. He's making throws that are phenomenal. And a lot of them, that one, not so much, but a lot of them under pressure where guys were right in his face and he's heaving it up there and giving the guy a chance to make a play. And we, you know, I always said the most underrated part of our team was our receivers. We had really good receivers, and they had just never really been featured that much until this season. And then everybody started realizing just how good they were.
You know, when I envisioned this concept to do a watch along, this is exactly what I envision. So, you know, just someone tell me everything y'all were thinking during this. This is probably my favorite watch along so far, even though it's Auburn. But this is definitely my favorite one so far.
I just love good football.
Well, you got Al explaining everything.
Absolutely.
And, you know, stuff that fans don't get to see. See, people watching this right now, you got to understand, Al Borges right now is telling you everything is going on the sidelines, going to tell you what's going on at halftime, you know, what's the concept, what people are thinking. This is what
Joey? You know what, Joey? It's a prelude to the book because this is what I do in the book. I go through all 13 games, each drive explaining why I called the play, what happened on the play, and why it worked or it didn't. And it's not a ton of football jargon. It's written in a way that you can understand. You don't have to be a football aficionado to understand what I'm saying, because I tried to break it down so it was something that you could easily discern. So it's just done in a book form rather than we're doing it off of television. I'm not doing anything now that I didn't do when I wrote it. I talk about the hard count in the book and the touchdown. I talk about the flea flicker. You know, I talk about how Jason threw the ball, a beautiful ball to Devin Aroma should do in a corner out. And I explained it in even more detail than I am here. But here, this is nice because you can actually see it firsthand.
We got first and 10, hand off.
And look at that defense flow.
Mayo-Sal, he was one of our one of our bigger linebackers. Doug Langenfeld, and there's Tommy Jackson, who was really a plugger inside nose tackle. Marquise Gunn, Alabama kid, who was really, really a tough run defender. And Terrius, who wasn't very big, but boy, was he hard to block.
Ron Jones.
Yeah, these are the things that he can hurt you with right there. Great play. Stanley McClover, the Predator. There's the best defensive back in the country right there, Carlos Rogers.
And that was a tough throw. He almost had it, too. That was a great play defensively.
He isn't the guy you wanted to test too much if you were the quarterback. He'd throw it his side once in a while. Not you throw it too many times, you're going to pay for it.
Now, what are you talking to your offense right now at this particular time? Are you just
when they come off, what I would do, now I don't always bring the offense all up. What I would do is the first thing, occasionally I would bring the offense up, but I would first of all talk to the quarterback and go through the sequence that we just ran. Talk about the pass coverages, get the feedback from the booth on what, they're charting all that stuff upstairs. Make sure he knows what they're doing tendency-wise by down and distance. And then once I'm done with him, let him go get off his feet, and then I start thinking about sequence in the next series. And that's usually how every series went, unless there was a turnover where there's a quick turnaround, and a sudden change. That's usually how it went. And then every so often, if I felt it was necessary, I'd bring the whole offense up and talk to them about something. But I never wanted to do too much of that because you didn't give the other coaches a chance to do what they do. They need to coach their guys. And they were more qualified to coach, for example, the offensive line than I was. So,
was that a block in the back?
I don't know. I didn't see it. It was. Do you see a flag? Then there was no block in the back.
I look like a block in the back.
No, I don't think so.
No.
Now here's Jake Slaughter again, a fullback. He's changing the play. He's going, I believe, to a lead zone to the strong side, right behind Jake. See Jake leading? Bam! See that? Ronnie beats the first guy, falls forward. That's vintage Ronnie Brown, vintage Jake Slaughter, vintage offensive line. Just a simple lead zone play. Away from it. We had a weak side run called, I believe. So Jason just checked out of it, went back strong. And you can see bodies on the ground everywhere. And look at that guy. He broke his ankles. He looked like he was running on ice there. And there's that good-looking guy again. Holy smoke, that guy's – I don't know why he coaches. He ought to be in Hollywood.
A real multifaceted gentleman.
A little pitch sweep. Oh, look at 73. Oh, yes. We pull our 6'9", 335 tackle, a little crack sweep off of motion, and he leads Cadillac. Or I guess it's Ronnie. Who was it? Yeah, no, I guess that was Cadillac.
Sounds like it'd be a ton of fun to be on the receiving end of that one.
Yeah, no, I'd just should defer to somebody else on that one. But yeah, I tell you that 6'9" tackle could run like a deer and had more endurance than a mile, a distance runner. He was amazing how he could go and go and go for that size. He'd run sprints. He'd beat everybody.
Jeez.
At the end of the first quarter. 17-zip in the first quarter. All right, Al. What are you telling your team right now?
Keep the pressure on. Stay aggressive. Be greedy. Be greedy. Good offensive teams are greedy. You can't get enough. Stay at the table and keep eating. And get it to where
Jason Campbell, ladies and gentlemen. You'll be seeing him on the show later. He's coming to make a special appearance. Now, stories told that y'all made championship rings for this team.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still have your championship ring?
Absolutely. I never wore rings when I coached, but I wear that one as well as a couple others. But yes, I do.
Does it say national champions?
It does say national champions, and it should say national champion. Because yes, USC ain't the national champions, and Oklahoma ain't the national champions. Who the hell is a national champion?
There's Jason Campbell highlight. Like I said before, earlier in the show, this was not the Jason Campbell that we have known. This season, this is his senior season. We've never seen Jason Campbell play like this before.
No, you know what it was, Joe? I think he played a little too concerned about making mistakes, and I think he told me, he says, I never wanted to be the guy that lost the game. This interesting play. It's a little throwback screen to Ronnie Brown. Roll right, throw it back. Nice grab. Break a tackle.
Jeez.
Nice play. Yeah, but he was always a guy. I'd tell him, I said, you know what, let it rip. Don't worry about all that. If it goes wrong, I'll just take the blame. They think I'm stupid anyway, so everybody will believe it. So he just changed his thinking, not so much as, he always had the ability, but he just changed his thinking to a player who felt like he could carry the team when they needed him to. Not every game now and not all the time. It wasn't like that, but he just felt like, if we weren't running the ball as well, I'm going to take us across the finish line. And that was the difference. You just didn't scare him. Got him where he wanted to play and be the guy that won the game rather than the guy that didn't lose the game, if that makes any sense.
All right, you got a double tight end set right here. Oh, got a little stuff. Okay. Let's give it number 66. Got a little tough.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, geez. Look at the improvement right there.
Oh, it's unbelievable. It's by the end of the season. By the end of the season, you can really see it. I mean, when we played 13 games and they start flashing those numbers, there was a drastic disparity in play.
Yeah,
from how we played.
From a statistics perspective, like that is an incredible jump of production in just 1 year. That's wild.
Yeah.
Man.
That was a handout to Ronnie Brown.
Yeah, right now we're just trying to muscle them. We're down inside the 5, and we're saying we're going to make them prove they can stop us. And until they prove they can stop the run, I'm going to keep calling runs.
All right. I think this is 30 inches. 3rd and goal. All right, Jason's checking out his playbook. Hey, y'all, come on. Yeah. Let's go ahead and get this in for Coach Al.
Yeah, and he's calling that. And I'll tell you, if I was in that huddle, I wouldn't understand a word he said. But those guys do. They all speak Southern, so they know exactly what he's saying. Little jump over the top. There we go.
The Joey of 2004 is pissed off. Go for one. By this time, Coach, I'll be turning the TV off. All right, let's go find something to do. We're not losing this game. See, Ty, during this season, the only thing I was watching Auburn for is for them to lose. Look, are they going to lose this weekend?
Well, you're going to have a long wait for us to lose because that wasn't going to happen.
It was a long season for me, Coach. I said we're going to get this team in the Iron Bowl.
This team didn't know what it was to lose.
There's Tommy Tummaville right there. That's a nice guy.
There's the senator.
A lot of Ole Miss fans don't like him, though. One of my good friends played for him in Ole Miss. He loves Tommy.
Yeah. I talked about that in the book, too. That's another – next, you did that.
He played his first year. Tommy, he was a senior. Tommy Tuberville's first year at Ole Miss, and he said that Tommy run the crap out of them. He said he lost 50 pounds, and he was a defensive lineman.
Well, that's not all bad. That's another guy, old Phil Yost. He kicked that ball off. They didn't return a lot of them on us. He had a powerful leg.
And if memory serves right, Arkansas had a really good kick returner too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but Yost negated those guys. They just never got to touch the ball very often, you know. He'd kick it through the end zone, and that was that. And then John Vaughn, our field goal kicker, was solid as a rock. He's going to make it. I don't remember what his numbers were, but they were pretty darn good, and most of them in a clutch. And then I believe it was Cody Bliss was our punter, and he was very reliable. Here, now watch his speed here. Watch this here. This is the one I'm telling you. That's a big unreal. Old boy there. Yeah, that's a big, fast dude right there.
How tall was Nick Fitzgerald, Mississippi State's quarterback from a few years ago?
I don't even remember.
I was like, Ty,
God, dog, he's
what did Jason Campbell have for lunch that weekend of the Arkansas game? Like,
well, no, because Nick Fitzgerald was very similar in his game, a 6'5" quarterback who was effective throwing the ball, but was deceptively athletic. And Mississippi State made a lot of people pay. I think it was 2000, right after Dak left, he came in, and he really took the SEC by storm when he first came in there. It just reminds me a lot of Matt Jones.
Mm-hmm.
All right, who holds the SEC record for career rushing yards by a quarterback in 2000 by this time?
Well, you got me. Let me see. I never watched this, so
this is a total guess. The SEC record for career rushing yards?
I don't know. I think I fast forwarded through this part.
I know who it was after this game. I don't know who it was before.
Yeah, I would guess Cam Newton was after this game, but
yeah, and I think even like immediately after this, I think it was Matt Jones became the SEC leading rusher in this game for all-time quarterback yards.
Really?
Yeah. He was 55. He was 55 yards off before the game started.
Well, I don't know about the SEC, but I had Denard Robinson, and I'm guessing he outrushed all of them.
Oh, no doubt about that. Denard Robinson was so much fun to watch.
Yeah, he was electric. Had to coach him completely different.
There you go.
I do a piece in my book about how it's different coaching Jason Campbell and coaching Denard Robinson. Completely different mindset, completely different thinking. We got a guy that can run, 4-0.
Yeah.
You got a prototype NFL quarterback. You think he's got to change as a coordinator and a quarterback coach.
While we got some downtime, tell us more about this book right here.
Well, it's coming out later this month. I'm hoping probably late August. I'm going to do a book signing at the LSU game on October 1st, assuming everything goes as it should go. It is inspired by my trip to the Iron Bowl this last year with my son Cole, who wants to go to Auburn. He's 17 years old. And I wasn't going to do any book. I had no intention of doing a book, but the fans were so great when I went back there. I came home. I thought of a title that I thought would be kind of catchy. And then I started writing the book, thinking I'd probably last about a week and say, I don't want to do this. And then I just started writing, and I kept writing. And before you knew it, I wrote a book, And I didn't want it to be a normal book. I wanted it to be a book where a coach was writing, not some artsy author. I don't care about any of that. I wanted it to be me, so the fans got an authentic depiction of what went on in the huddle, on the sidelines, in the locker room, everything. I didn't, and it's written sometimes with a little cavalier language. This is what you can see. That's what the cover's kind of going to look like. That's still got to be edited. That's even got some mistakes on it there, but the cover's going to look kind of like that, and I should
It's
get that
also,
back here.
as is mentioned, it's also forward by Jason Campbell.
Jason Campbell did the forward, yeah.
Yeah, who later going to see later on in the show.
Yeah, he did a nice job on the forward too. He explained kind of how it all developed, the relationship that him and I had.
Jason,
I'm
do
sorry?
you still talk to Jason?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, I do. There's Jason's dad right there, Larry Campbell, and his mom right next to him now that I look at it. And there goes Cadillac. Another pitch sweep out of bunch. And toss him the ball, and then, just so something's probably good going to happen, Now,
Cadillac Williams, he went to the Dolphins, or was it Ronnie Brown?
What's that?
Cadillac Williams went to the Dolphins, right?
Cadillac went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And
the Bucs. And Ronnie Brown went to the Dolphins.
Yep, exactly. There's Marcus McNeil blocking out the sun, biggest human being you've ever seen. Ben Grubbs, C69 there, Ben Grubbs. Mm-hmm. Ben had an outstanding NFL career too. He was on defense when I first started. We moved him to offense my first spring, and he didn't know what he's doing. And I told him one day, I said, Ben, you're going to get somebody killed. You don't figure this out. I'm watching you play. You look like you'd be a great player, but doggone it, you got to figure out who to block and how to block them. And Ben never said much. He kind of looked at me like, yeah, I got you, coach. Well, he did exactly what I told him, because he turned out to be not a good, but a great player, a great offensive guard. And I think a second-round pick, if I'm not mistaken. Here's a little spacing route. Goes back to the slot.
To the progressions.
Breaks tackle. You can see he got a little look off there. We trying to run a little individual cut into the boundary with the X receiver, which they got underneath. So Jason just kind of flipped his hips and threw the ball back to Anthony Mix on what we call a spacing route, which means those three receivers, right out there to the right, they're all going to kind of space themselves 6 to 8 yards apart. Jason's eyes look left. He doesn't like to throw. Goes right back to the spacing route. That's extremely well executed. West Coast offense. West Coast passing game at its finest right there. 11 out of 12, 210 yards. I take that every game.
I think that last play.
Moves to Ronnie back over into there. He's probably going to run another lead zone with Ronnie. Now watch Ronnie bounce, see if he gets a block.
Oh,
jeez.
I told Ronnie, I said, we can use you twice as much as you've been used in the past if you're willing to play some fullback. And he was more than willing to do it, and it made a huge difference, not just in our run game, but also in our passing game, because we used him a lot at fullback as a receiver. He ended up catching about 34, 35 passes that season, but we had him another year, he'd have caught over 55, 50, maybe 60 passes. We were just scratching the surface of that position with him. But
Al, did you ever coach the wishbone?
Yep, back in high school. Yeah, a long time ago.
Really?
Look at Ronnie get that block, huh? Yeah, way back in 1978, 79. How old were you back then, 78?
I wasn't even thought of.
How about you, Ty? You were how old were you? 5, 6?
His parents wasn't even thought of.
No, my dad was teaching at UConn at the time.
Jeez. Oh, I'm dating myself, but yeah, that's way back in the middle late 70s. I learned the wishbone from Mike Welsh, head football coach at Salinas High School. Great football coach. Taught me a lot about coaching. Taught me a lot about the wishbone.
What made y'all want to play Ronnie Brown and Cadillac Williams at the same time?
Well, because they're really, really good. I'm funny that way.
Yeah.
No, the thing about Ronnie is he has a fullback profile. He's 200. I don't know. He's about 230, 233, right in there. I remember when I was, learning offensive football, I was a 49er fan and a 49er offense fan. And I remember Roger Craig. I don't know if you guys remember Roger Craig, but Roger Craig was a fullback and halfback. He played both positions in his career with the 49ers. And Ronnie and him have very similar profiles. So when I saw Ronnie, I said, you know what? I'm going to make this guy the next Roger Craig. And that was really kind of the inspiration. I said, but he had to be willing to accept that role.
Right.
Yeah, they grabbed Cole Bennett.
I didn't see it. I think y'all paid the rest on this game. But go ahead, Al.
But they were, I just saw a lot of the same traits in Ronnie that Roger Craig had, and I just said, you know what? If he'll buy into it, because you got to do some blocking. It's the tailback, you block, pass block, but you don't have to do much lead blocking, which can be, that can be a little bit dicey, a little hard. But Ronnie bought into it. He said, hey, coach, just get me on the field, man. I want to play. Because he'd been, they had Brandon Jacobs the year I was there before I got there. They had Cadillac. They had him. He had suffered through some injuries, a long line at tailback. So when I just mentioned, hey, let's find another way to get you on the field, and I won't just keep you football, I'll move you around. We'll put you on a flank, whatever, slot. He went for it. And when he went for it, it changed us. I mean, offensively, he was kind of the star, the straw that stirred the drink in terms of making the offense complete. I say that, and I say Jason Campbell.
Right here. Damn it.
Nice play, yeah. Jason Campbell was a guy that made the drink taste good, So that was it. He was just unselfish, and that made a big difference.
No, correct me if I'm wrong, Coach, but didn't other coaches around college football actually use footage of the way that not only the coaches but the players interacted on the sideline? Because if I remember correctly, 2004 Auburn was renowned not only for the on-field play, but I always remember them being talked about as such a collective unit. Like, I think that y'all were real together, and like even on the sideline, really big displays of unity.
Well, sideline and off the field too. There was I call it in the book, I call it a majestic synergy. It's amazing. I mean, it's just amazing. I had another team like this back in 1994 when I was at Boise State. Had the same kind of chemistry, not the talent. They weren't as talented as this team, but this team had the chemistry and the talent. Chet Williams, our chaplain, was a part of that. I mean, he helped bring the kids together. But they just had, and I think a lot of it was they were driven because of what had happened in the past. They had a laser focus, and they were willing to give anything up to win because they'd been on the other end of too much of it. Expectations were high, production was low. So when I came in, even though they didn't know me and didn't really, all they wanted to know was how I was going to help them win. What are we going to do? And I don't care what, we'll just do it. Just get us some wins, man. I mean, and I said, well, I'm sorry.
So 209 kicks in a row. The streak just came to an end.
He just missed
a bad snap.
Yeah, Tuberville's pissed at him. He's made about 6 million kicks in a row. He finally missed one. It didn't look like he missed by much, but he was reliable. Shit, that guy was a good kicker.
First missed PAT in the last 209 attempts, SEC record, longest streak in the nation.
Yeah.
We just saw history in the making, Ty. Congratulations.
Man, I don't think our high school kicker made a field goal in 209 attempts. It was bad. It was horrible. I know he hit the center a few times, but he didn't put it through the uprights many times.
I went to the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta. And you go a little football field where you can kick field goals, and I broke my shoe. So I was walking around the College Football Hall of Fame with a broken shoe. And my friends were sitting there laughing at me, and I was wobbling. And so people behind me kept wobbling too.
They were mocking you?
Yeah. I guess you had to be there.
No, I didn't have to be there. I can see that.
The story was funny. I didn't think it was funny either.
Joe, they want to make fun of you all the time. You're just kind of one of those guys. I don't get it. You don't seem like.
Yeah, I don't get it either.
Guys trying to get you arrested. They're mocking you for how you walk. I'm giving you
Right.
crap about the way you talk. You're just a human target.
Joey said, "I don't get it." Coach says, "I get it." Coach said, "I get it." No, it makes sense to me.
Oh man, you don't have to hit me with a truck. I got this one figured out.
I love it, Al Burgess, ladies and gentlemen. That's why I love him coming on the CTS.
Yeah.
Man, all right, here comes the answer. Let's see who it's going to be. John Bond.
Got
Never
me
heard
there.
of him.
No. Oh, I remember him, but I don't. I do, but you can see that's more my time than yours. I remember him, but I would have never guessed him.
That's a glorious head of hair too.
That's an awesome. That's an '80s cut right there, Jack.
Yeah.
Did you and Tommy Tuberville ever talk about the Bobby Petrino?
Never. No. You know what, Joe? I stayed away from those conversations, to be honest with you. Because they just you got to be there and understand the dynamic. But I stayed away from all the Jetgate stuff as much as I could. Now, I heard a lot of stuff because a lot of guys still pissed off, But in terms of engaging in those conversations, that wasn't something I wanted to have anything to do with. And to be honest with you, I wanted to put all that stuff in a rearview mirror, We don't want it was if they want to use it as a motivating or an inspirational factor or whatever, that's fine. But that had nothing to do with me because I didn't have anything to do with that thing. So I just avoided it. I did. There's Monk. Is that
play.
Monk? I think that's Monk. 85, yeah. He's a good player.
What did you think of David Hassel, the athletic director?
I like David. David was great. It's good to me, Again, because he was on that airplane. He wasn't thought of in a real favorable light, I don't think. But David was very good to me. It's like Pat Dye. Pat Dye was very good to me. I mean, Pat Dye was always inquisitive, had always said favorable things about me, and I just, And Coach Dye was he's an opinionated guy, a strong-minded dude, but that's one of the reasons he was such a great coach. And I did, again, the Auburn fan base loves Coach Dye, and you can easy to understand why.
Oh yeah.
So from this season, Coach, is there a particular defensive player that you went up against that really stands out as someone that you really hyper aware of when it came to week's preparation?
Yeah, a couple of them. Willis from Ole Miss.
Okay. Oh yeah, yeah.
That guy made every time. I mean, every time I turn around, that guy's getting off the pile. He was unbelievable how good he was. And then, oh God. Alabama had a guy. Well, he's coaching now. What's his name? Help me. You guys know who he is.
It wasn't Ryans, was it?
Yeah.
D'Amico Ryans.
Yeah, good. Another good player. Yeah, he was instinctive, tough, around the ball all the time. God, he was a good player. And then Georgia had David Pollock, who really was a good player. Thomas Davis, one of their safeties, good player. They had some dudes. I mean, all the way around, they had some dudes. But those guys kind of stick out to me right now. But there was all kinds of good ones, We didn't play Florida that year, but we faced several good kids that went to Florida too. They had a free safety, Reggie something. I can't remember his last name, but he was another one. So it isn't hard to find good defensive players in the SEC.
No doubt.
Even the bad teams have good defensive players.
Yeah, I've always been so curious as an offensive coordinator, even a defensive coordinator, like that week of preparation, so much work put into it. But then if there's that guy on the other side,
just
how that goes.
Identify as a coordinator, you got to identify what I call disruptors. Who are guys that can disrupt your offense from their position? And sometimes it's a defensive end. Sometimes it's a defensive tackle, guy like Jay Ratliff, those type of dudes. Sometimes it's a cover corner who you don't dare throw the ball anywhere near, or find a way to pick him or do something to make his life hard. You know what I mean? But yeah, you got to be aware. It ain't the X's and O's, it's the Jimmies and Joes. You got to figure out who's a threat and how to neutralize him so that he doesn't dominate the game, knowing that the good players are going to make plays anyway. I mean, you can chip them, do what you want. They'll still find a way to make a play, but he can't dominate the game. As a coordinator, you can't allow that to happen, or I don't think you're doing your job.
Yeah, I've always thought, especially in this era of the SEC, offensive coordinators, y'all had y'all's work cut out, man.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, there's no question. It's
But what's your plan right now, Coach? You're just killing the clock?
Yeah, I think there's only 57 seconds left, and we want to go ahead, go into the locker room 30-7 and say the hell with it. We've got basically have control of the football game, and the only thing that's going to change that is if you make a mistake late and let them create some momentum going into halftime. So we just sat on it and said, hey, let's go in with 30-7 lead, and make them try and come back on our defense, and I want to wish them the best of luck on that because that wasn't going to happen. So our job in the second half was to do our best to control the ball, not shut it down necessarily, but control the football, make sure that they, don't have any short fields to play with because we fumble it or throw it to them. That was really.
It's a phrase I say often when I make content for college football. Sometimes simplicity is the key to brilliance.
Well, that's exactly what we did in the Alabama game. We got the Alabama game. I went in and I said, okay, enough's enough. This crowd's loud. We're struggling to get to here. We're making some stupid mistakes because I'm putting them in bad situations. It wasn't them. It was me. And I said, okay, this is what we're going to do, boys. We're going to almost go back to a spring football type menu of plays, and we're going to run what I know we can run under pressure with crowd noise. It changed the whole game. Guys were now playing fast. They were less analytical, and we came back and won the game. But in the first half, we just stumbled over ourselves. And it was, again, I don't know that it was the players as much as it was the plan. We had so much success early in games by opening up and getting big leads. And we didn't in that game. And now you had to make an adjustment to that. And that's really where we stood with that.
Hey, Coach, so what's the game plan in the second half?
Second half? I'm sorry?
What was the halftime talk and?
Well, I'm telling them now we're gonna like I said, we're gonna enjoy the view because we're killing them. All right, they haven't really stopped us the whole game. We're gonna stay aggressive. I'm not gonna run the ball every single snap just because we're ahead, but we need to take care of it. That's the big thing. Stay aggressive, take care of the ball, and make them play on a long field the whole second half. And if they have to, there's very little chance they can come back and win this game because our defense is just too good. Now understand this, Joy. If you're not playing with as good a defense, you can't really think that way. You got to keep your guns firing and say, "Hey, all right, let's go." You know what I mean? We got to play this like a 0-0. But that would not be wise with a defense that leads the country in scoring defense. That all you're going to do is put them in a position where there's a possibility that they can score by only running a couple plays, and you don't want that. So
Marcus Monk is doing it.
He's a great player.
He's a big old target too, man. I mean, he was a tall dude too.
I think there was some controversy, not with Monk, but with the Arkansas tight end situation at the beginning of this year because of Marcus Monk and how he came on much quicker than I think a lot of people anticipated.
Yeah,
I think their starting tight end ended up quitting the team.
Jeez, I don't remember that, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Hi, is a human encyclopedia when it comes to college football.
I have insomnia, and so what I do at night is watch college football.
I watch movies.
It's an unhealthy obsession, but you know what?
No, it's not.
People enable me, so it's fine.
Well,
that's why you good at what you do. Go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, if it's unhealthy, there's a lot of unhealthy dudes out there. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jason Campbell.
Hey, what's going on?
Jeez, oh man,
Hey,
look
how
at they
you
let
doing?
anybody on this show.
Hey, you never know who you gonna have on this show.
I tell you ain't got no better looking since the last time I saw you, but that beard's a good idea. Cover up that face.
Man, hey, that's why you got that green background.
Makes my head shine. What's up?
Little crystal ball up there. Hey, I can't complain. Just living life and trying to help Auburn out a little bit.
Well, you gonna suit back up?
No, I'm doing a little radio NIL stuff, helping them with some NIL opportunities.
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, so I jumped on
right now, Jason, we're in the second half. Arkansas just scored. You pretty much been tearing the whole game up. You pretty much the MVP at this point. Do you remember the game?
Yeah, I remember that game. I think I was 17 for 19, like 290 some yards. Yeah,
I don't think you missed much.
Yeah, Tub never would let me get my 300 yards. It's about 7 or 8 games we got to that point. It was like right before 300, and he always called the dogs off and make us run the ball or take us out of the game. Because people don't realize about 3 or 4 games that year, our starters was out of the game in the third quarter. You know, that's why we tell people like stats are irrelevant sometimes because, we was beating people pretty good, so we was out of the game in the third quarter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, Jason, I got to ask you, what kind of coach was Al Borges?
Al's a great coach, man. Like anytime you can have the charisma of a coach to have the personality to get along with all the players and, especially him coming from the West Coast and, first walked in, had those Hawaiian shirts on. I think he was he was a little bit caught off guard with Alabama just, being so woody in southern area. But, being in Cali, you got beaches and everything else. So life is a little bit more laid back. But I think just the way he came in, he just, instantly encouraged all the players and, he utilized everyone's ability. I told people for years that we wasn't getting the best out of our offense because there's so much unused talent because the only thing they think we can do is just run the ball. And I actually came to Auburn as the number 2 quarterback in the nation in high school off of throwing the ball. So that was a little bit different for me to turn around and hand the ball off as much as I was my early part of my career. And so I was happy Coach Borges came in and, was able to utilize everyone's ability. And that's what it takes, man. If you're going to win football games, all these kids come out of high school talented, but you got to know how to put the pieces together. You can recruit all you want, but if you don't know what to do with them once you get them, it's a different story.
That reminds me of my favorite Bill Belichick quote when he was talking about the draft. He said, "Don't tell me what a player can't do. Tell me what a player can do, and I, as the coach, will figure out how to make them successful in the system." I always loved that.
Right. All right. That's a testament of a great coach. Like I said, everywhere he's been successful. I remember when Coach was in UCLA when Cade McNown was the quarterback. And everything at UCLA. And I didn't know Coach Borges at the time, but I remember watching those guys play. So I remember when he came to Auburn, he brought that film and we was watching them and everything. So he's been really successful. He kind of introduced the bunch formations, him and Norm Chow. Coach Borges, he really introduced those bunch formations in the SEC, caused defenses kind of get disrupted a little bit. It actually worked a lot in the LSU game against Saban, because it kind of took away from a lot of their exotic blitzes that they like to do. And anytime you can take away, the team's strength, which was blitzing and running cover 0 blitzes. And, they was doing so much exotic with him and Muschamp and all those guys on the same staff that year that, we kind of threw a wrinkle at them when Coach Borges brought in the bunch. And what's so ironic, man, is that we didn't even practice that week outside, but one day we had a walkthrough on Friday, because it was Hurricane Ivan, so we didn't even get a chance to do as much as we wanted to in that game.
If I see another Jason Campbell to Courtney Taylor one more time, I'm turning the game off.
These Bama guys, they don't get it.
Campbell and Courtney Taylor the whole game. It's been like this the whole game.
You know them Bama guys, man. You gotta.
I get it.
Yeah. I run to Alabama. I run to Alabama people all the time. Half of them never even went to the school or even stepped foot on the campus, and they're Bama fans.
Y'all always like to put all Auburn fans like to do that.
Most Auburn fans.
The Auburn fan base never went to Auburn. Never even been to the city.
School there are on the campus. That was a terrible story. I said most Auburn people either went to school at Auburn or actually been to the campus.
That's not true. I promise you that.
Most Bama fans I meet, diehard Bama fans, everything. I'd be like, where were y'all at from 2000, 2007? I said,
that's true. That's true.
They're everywhere. And I said, do you know how to get to
Jason, that's the first fact I've heard in a long time. I cannot stand fans like that. Where was you? It's like the LeBron James fans. You're a Cavs fan. Now you're a Heat fan. Now I'm a Cavs fan. Now I'm a Lakers fan.
Yeah. Is it when Anthony Mitts fumbling the ball? Yeah.
Yeah, but you didn't see that. But Cadillac about killed that guy in the blitz. Guy come barreling in, and Cadillac about knocked him out. See if you can see it here. Watch Cadillac on this. I think they bring a double A or a safety blitz. Here it is. Watch what Cadillac does. Oh, yeah, here he comes. Watch this. Bam!
See, that's what you need right there.
That's it.
You got to have running backs that can step up and block. But see, a lot of people don't get on the center anymore and drop back and do 7 steps. We used to do a lot of it.
We did. Yeah, we did. We weren't afraid to do that. We ran the gun, but we weren't afraid to extend drops under center because we ran the ball under center.
Right. And they put a lot of pressure on defense. They couldn't really tell, if you're going to pass the ball or run the ball because we did so much play action as well. But these teams nowadays, they just stay in shotgun. I think you need to mix it up.
Now, I'm going to ask y'all a question. I've already gave my answer to this, and this is my personal belief. This is my personal belief. A lot of people will disagree with me. Is this the greatest Auburn football team in the history of Auburn University? I say yes. I'm not saying this because Jason Campbell and Al Borges. I've said this many times on this YouTube channel. The 2004 Auburn Tigers is probably the best Auburn football team I've ever seen in my entire life. With that said, probably one of the best SEC teams in the history of the SEC. Would you agree or disagree?
Yeah, I agree. I'm not being biased. Anytime you have we was the first backfield in college football history to all go in the first round. That speaks for itself. And then you want to talk about we have the Jim Thorpe Award winner on defense and Jay Ratliff, who played 3-time Pro Bowler in the NFL for many years. And, Travis Williams, who's now coaching defense coordinator at UCF. We had a lot of guys that was just smart football players, as well as physical football players. But it take a bunch of guys being able to relate and get along. Even the Junior Rose Green, the way that he played and the energy that he brought, there was no turning us away. I definitely think so. I know people always say, "Oh, 2010 would not have beat us." I was just like, our defense was too good and our offense was too good. We was more of a balanced football team. If you look at the defense in 2010, the only person they had that was wrecking havoc was my big boy up front and everything. So, but other than that, like you didn't have anybody like just making noise like that. Like they was outscoring people and running a spread offense. So, it's just a different time. It's a different era. I really don't like comparing eras because everybody's different. It's just like basketball,
Well, it's not really comparing eras. I mean, it's like exactly what you said. Look at the talent that this team had. This team took my hatred to Auburn and took it to the next level. Like I hated Auburn, but in 2004, I hated Auburn. Like
Joey, that was our goal.
Yeah, that was your goal. Your goal was to make sure Joey. I wanted Joey to really hate Auburn. So this brings Al Borges in, and Jason Campbell becomes this fantastic quarterback. Yes, but this team was something special. I put this team up against the 2008 Florida Gators, the '92 Alabama team, the 2000.
Well, Lewis Murphy always want to argue with me. He played with the Gators. He was my receiver in the Raiders with the Raiders, and we always had these arguments and everything. And Nick Fairley was who I was trying to talk about a while ago on the defensive side for Auburn back in 2010. Nick was a guy that he was really good. He's talented, but like I said, it's just different times. Like they was running that fast-paced offense, trying to run as many plays as they possibly could. And like I said, in order to be successful in Gus' offense, you have to be a dual threat quarterback. And everyone always say, man, why you're rushing yards? I say, well, we didn't run that type of offense. We ran more of a pro-style offense and everything, which is built for the NFL at that time. The goal was to keep your quarterback upright and healthy. And nowadays, people run out these different RPOs and all this stuff. The quarterbacks really don't even read defenses anymore or even know blitzes. Like if you ask some of these guys, what's a blitz pickup? How do you pick up certain blitzes? They'll look at you like they've seen a ghost or something because everything's so RPO. If the linebacker blitz, you pull the ball, throw the slant behind it. But back then, you have to know football and you have to study football. That's the difference.
Jason, you saw it this season. You knew about football. We never saw this Jason Campbell before this season. This was like a brand new Jason Campbell. And
yeah, everybody say that. I had some games in my junior year that I threw for really good yards, but like I said, in my sophomore year, I had some really good games. It's just you didn't get a chance to have a lot of consistent games because, like I said, we were so run heavy and everything. So when you so run heavy like that, where in 2004 we was just so balanced. Like coach knew how to mix it up and keep it balanced. Where in the past, Tuberville was old school. He just want to run it and running it. If they can't stop it, we're gonna keep running it. So a lot of times people couldn't stop it, and the quarterback don't get a chance to get seen, and receivers don't get a chance to see. I guarantee you this: if we'd have had Coach Borges all 4 years, we probably wouldn't have lasted all 4 years because we had so many guys that could go get the ball. Like our receiving core, I haven't seen a receiving core since Anthony Mitz and Courtney Taylor and Beno Nanu and Devin Aromashodu, since 4 tall guys like that was talented. And we even had Silas Daniels, who was another guy that was talented in that group. So, and with the backfield that we had, it's just those guys got a chance to get seen, and every last one of them played in the NFL for at least 4 years or more. So that just doesn't happen if it wasn't talent. But they never would have got seen if it wasn't Coach Borges coming in there implementing that offense that allowed us to spread defenses out and utilize our ability.
I was going to ask you, how big was Al Borges in your development as a quarterback this season?
Oh, huge! Like it was all about the techniques. Like the one thing he taught us was fundamentals. Like if you can just watching the game, I'm sitting up here looking at some of my drops and everything when I'm dropping back, like just the fundamentals. Now you see a lot of kids skate back in their drops. Like they're not even, taking their drops and hitch step and delivering the ball. A lot of them skate back and trying to like freelance it and then trying to make the throws. So, it's just the fundamentals of the game a lot of people have forgotten about. But that's the difference between being successful and everything, because if you don't do the fundamental things, which are the little things, it always catches up with you. So, he was huge on doing those type of things before practice and then a little bit even after practice. So, we worked on our plays. We talked when the quarterbacks weren't participating in special teams. We was working on our game, and we went over there sitting on the sideline having a bunch of Kool-Aid or popcorn and joking around. Like, we joked a little bit with each other, but we was about our business.
Right. All right, Al, your offense is about to come out on the field. What's the new game plan right here? Just keep it calm and cool and collected.
Yeah, 30-14. Do what we do. We're not going to recreate the wheel at this point. The one time we really got stopped, we fumbled. It wasn't as though they really stopped us, and they, even with the turnover, had to play on a long field. So that's helpful. We just don't want to get them back in the game by doing something that's going to allow them to play on a short field, And we can facilitate running the football. We're not stuck on having to pass or having to run. We can do both. You can see Jason changing the play, going to an outside run. But we're able to do both. But so that satisfies a lot of scenarios that come up in football games. And in this time, we're ahead, so we're going to maintain our balance. But we're not hung up on doing any one thing. We can do a little bit of everything and control that clock and make them go a long way to score. And that is the formula to win in a lot of games. Here's 2nd and 10, a little bunch formation. We run a lead draw. You can see Ronnie Brown from that crease alignment and bunch wraps around and blocks for Cadillac. We'd run that play earlier in the game for a good gain. Mm-hmm. 2nd down, and I don't know, I guess it was 10. We're trying to position ourselves to get into a reasonable 3rd down. But
I've never seen nothing like that in college football till this time. Have 2 running backs combine 100 yards.
Now, this is a situation here that we were really good at. 3rd and long. I mean, this is the best 3rd and long team that I've ever coached. We could 8+. We still always felt we had a chance to convert.
Look at Campbell.
And there he is again. The run-up throw right there. Jason, remember that one? The old Joe Montana drill.
Yeah. Right.
Watch, he ducks under the rush, stays on the move, keeps his eyes up the field, and runs only if he has to. That's
the same thing that happened in the Sugar Bowl. 3rd and long against Virginia Tech. Ran up in the pocket, hit Courtney Taylor on a dig route.
Yeah.
But those are drills that we work on. Like, that's the thing. Like, he's talking about running up with your eyes upfield, remaining a passer. And then if you have to tuck it and go, you tuck it and go. Like, I can't tell you how many times we used that drill during that season and everything. And I even took it to the league with me. I used to do it when I was in the NFL. Sometimes it rained, but I would stop and throw.
That's why I was asking you. Is that why Al Davis fell in love with you?
Yeah. Al Davis. It's just something about the Owls, man. I clicked with him when I went to Oakland, man. I had such a great time. Like, we had some young receivers, and they was letting me throw it around and everything, and it kind of reminded me of being back in Auburn, because in Washington they wanted to run the ball a whole lot, and kind of reminded me of the early days in Auburn. But then I go to Oakland, and they kind of opened things back up. And so the year that I broke my collarbone, I was actually in the top 8 in every category in the NFL from a statistics standpoint at that time, and we were 7 games in.
Yeah, he was a really good fit for Oakland's offense, because Oakland's not afraid to throw the ball down the field, particularly with Al, because Al had that philosophy way back to the 60s. And when he went to Oakland, I really felt like that was going to be a good fit for his style.
Yeah, Al don't pass away. Yeah, if he don't pass away, I'd probably be there. I would have played at least another 4 or 5 years there and probably retired there.
Yeah, Jason, his senior year, had a pretty phenomenal statistic.
Keep it down. Keep it down. Hold on. Look at that.
Oh, geez. You got to watch the Evil Empire. You got to watch the Evil Empire. Look at this play right here. Look at this.
Jeez.
Little pocket movement pass. Watch, it's going to roll to his left.
Yeah, that was a double comebacks, I believe.
Double comebacks outside. We pin the inside of the blitz. He steps underneath it, resets the profile. See that good passing position there, Joey? Write that down. See that? Throwing traffic. Gets smashed, ball's right on a dime. That's right. $1 million throw. You make a bunch of those, you make $1 million. What are you doing here?
Yeah, we're checking.
Out of time. You better call something. Oh, there you go again. And he got to come back to me. He goes, Coach, you got to get the play in quicker. I go, you got to call the play faster.
Yeah, we were notorious.
Look at right here.
We were notorious for letting the play clock get down about 3 seconds.
Yeah. We didn't have to do that too much. We got literally no delay games. We never got
right.
We had to call a couple timeouts every so often.
Yeah,
this is the one here. This is where I told you, if he pressed, go ahead and throw the fade, and he blitzed. Remember that one?
Yep, I do.
That was an X corner route, and I told you in the timeout, I said, if he comes up and bump and run, Ben, you just take off. Don't convert the fade, or convert the fade. And he showed bump and run and then blitzed, and he just pretended it was bump and run, I guess, and you just threw it up there and kind of back shouldered him a little bit.
Yeah, it's just being on the same page.
Yep.
Like I said, that comes with time and just playing with each other and having an understanding of what the coach looking for in the offense. Like you said, because y'all used to always say, "Do not confuse each other." You make a decision, stick with it. He made a decision to go on the go route and everything. So one-on-one, you gotta give the guy an opportunity.
Yep.
It's right here. It's the sprint right option.
Sprint right option, little pick play. It's wide open. We catch them in another blitz. They're radar defense. I think they bring both outside guys. And I think we cut down the widest. Yeah, see Cadillac take him down, clears the throw.
So here's a question for both of you. At this point, how deep are the route modifications, right? Like for this offense, like how much freedom does the corner and quarterback how much freedom does the wide receiver and quarterback have depending on the coverage presented to them?
Let Jason answer that.
A lot of it was we had run pass checks, pass to run checks. So, we saw a certain defense. We were audible out of it, and just reversal. So same thing, like no one knew, like we come to the line of scrimmage, everyone thought, oh, it's going to be run to pass every time I check. No, or sometimes I check, they think it's pass to run. But we kept people off balance. They didn't know because it all looked the same. And that's the difference was, being able to communicate. Communication was huge. Like our proudest moments was on the road in hostile environments, how we was able to still do the things that we did at home on the road by just using the hand clap, but everyone being familiar with each other as far as like getting off the ball.
Yeah. I mean, I've been obsessed here within the past, and I think it's being an Alabama fan and Bill O'Brien now being the offensive coordinator at Alabama. Whenever he was hired over, I did a real deep dive into what separates like O'Brien, and I really was fascinated by his use of route modifications because as a quarterback, how difficult is that? Because there could be multiple different possibilities depending on how much freedom there is within that. So how much time does that take to iron down to make sure you and your wide receivers are going to be on the same page based on what you see?
Well, you got to stay out the practice as well. I know Coach Knox was really good in keeping those guys out the practice, and like I said, Coach was always out the practice. So quarterbacks, we was out there, and then a lot of those guys wanted to be out there. That's the difference, and having an understanding of knowing your role. I think that's the biggest thing about college football is knowing who you are, knowing what you're supposed to do, be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. All those things are keys as far as being successful in college and everything. And that's really the rule, the number one rule for a receiver. Be where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. If there are certain blitz, be the side adjustment, be where you're supposed to be. If even the same thing in the blocking in the run game. Our receivers was mega blockers in the run game. And that was the reason running Cadillac had a lot of their yards after contact, because those guys were blocking downfield.
Yeah, you got to understand what a passing game is. You come in with a blueprint of how you want to run every route. But because sometimes coverage dictates either a conversion in the route or a modification in the route, how you run the route can change a little bit based on whether there's bump and run or the guy's catch and trailing you or the guy's off and inside or off and outside. There's subtleties within the route structure that the quarterback and the receivers have to be on the same page with, so that when the ball's snapped, everybody, like Jason says, everybody knows where they're going to be. Now, the one thing that I reaped the benefits of with Jason was that he had, this was bad for him, but good for me. He had 4 different coordinators in 4 years. Okay, that's tough on a quarterback. I mean, and you had to deal with a lot of that in the NFL too, didn't you?
Yeah, I had to deal with a lot of that in the NFL too.
Yeah. Well, for me though, that wasn't terrible because he had learned so much offense from the guys that had coached him before. There wasn't almost nothing that I could present to him as a senior that he didn't. Now, I had some subtleties that were different. that were coached a little different, but schematically, if I told him we're going to run a shallow cross and the guy's going to sit down of its own, he already knew all that. I didn't, we had to practice it and get good at it, but he'd already been through that. We talk about how to throw the go route or how to do this or how to do that. He had some good exposure to some pretty good coaches that made my job a little easier to install the offense. And this is why when I came to Auburn, I didn't want to change a lot of the terminology and have him start all over again. I tweaked it a little bit here and there. He knows that to fit what I wanted to do and what I was comfortable with. But the words were so similar that he hit the ground running. So now I'm using the same words he's used. He's heard a lot of the same things that I'm coaching from other coaches he's had. The learning curve was smaller than people might think. And you couple that with the fact that he's surrounded by a core of NFL talent, okay, that's second to none in the country. I mean, they talk about USC and Reggie Bush and Lindell White. We had Ronnie Brown and Cadillac Williams. They weren't any better than them. I don't.
Very true.
And they had Matt Leinart who won the Heisman. I said, I wouldn't trade Jason Campbell for. I told somebody on a show that the other day. I said, I'll double down on this. I told him I would not trade Ronnie Brown and Cadillac Williams for Lindell White and Reggie Bush. I wouldn't, and I'll up the ante and say I wouldn't trade Jason Campbell for Matt Leinart, and because that they have skill set that's NFL type. That if you coach them right, you do the right things, and don't confuse them, they'll play. And that's all we did. We put some guys in good position where they could play fast, play smart, play hard, play tough, and that's why we succeeded.
This team was incredible. Jeez.
Matt Jones.
Yeah, we talked about Matt Jones the whole game.
Matt Jones can run like a deer. Like he was moving, but every stride he was taking, he was pulling and taking 3 steps to your one.
Yeah.
He had
Los had to run him down one time. It was like tackling a bull.
I can't believe he got to the college. See, he would fit today's NFL at quarterback. See, back then he didn't fit quarterback in the NFL. That's why they moved him to receiver in Jacksonville. But today, the way they run all that spread stuff in the pros, he probably would have been playing. He would have made it in today's game. And a lot of guys in today's game wouldn't have made it in the game back when I played because, you had to be a student of the game. You couldn't just.
Nathan, was you a survivor watcher?
Say it again.
Was you a survivor watcher?
Oh, a survival watcher?
Yeah.
No, I don't watch too much survival.
I have not watched one episode ever in my life, but.
Hey man, you probably watching Bachelor, man. That's probably what you be watching, Bachelor or Bachelorette.
Nah, I'm lucky enough to have a wife that doesn't watch.
Bama guys do. I know AJ McCarron. We played together a year in the league, and I say you had to come to Auburn and get your wife, huh?
She's actually from my hometown.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Catherine is.
Yeah, she's from Phoenix City, Alabama.
Okay,
that's my hometown. 45 minutes from Auburn.
He went to the dark side. He's 45 minutes from Auburn, and he went to the dark side. How can he do that?
My football team used to come to watch our spring practice. What was your quarterback, number 22? What was his name before you?
Oh, Gabe Gross.
Yeah, I remember walking between him and someone else. And I was a defensive tackle. I was a sophomore defensive tackle. I'm walking between him and someone else, and they both tower me. Like I'm talking about, like I was like a midget compared. I was walking right between them, going to the stadium so we can watch them practice.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, and this, being a sophomore in high school, you're thinking, you got kid dreams. One day I'm going to play college football, and then that right there showed me that I was about to play no college football. I was like, this is a quarterback. And he's like a giant.
See, luckily that went out the window with me. I had two kids from my hometown, just small town here in North Texas. But two of the guys I went to high school with actually made it to the NFL. One's David Moore, longtime wide receiver with Seattle. The other is Denzel Johnson, played safety with TCU. Now he plays up in Canada. But I knew when I was very young, because they would always come over to the ranch and we'd play basketball and stuff. There was no comparison. And then my freshman year, I ended up on the wrong side of Mario Edward Jr.'s highlight reel as I caught a pass, and he came into coverage and absolutely annihilated me. So that was when I knew college football was just not in the picture for me.
So what do you think about college football in today's world with all the NIL and everything going on?
What do you think about it? Before we get to Ty's answer, what do you think about it?
Well, he thinks he lost a lot of money. That's what he thinks.
I definitely think about what I could have made in college, for sure. But I just hope it doesn't lose. I like NIL. I just wish they had better parameters on it. I think it's just too wild west and everything. But it is changing. College football is, the teams that can deal with it from a locker room standpoint, from a maturity standpoint of understanding guys around them may make more money than them based off their name, image, and likeness. And can kids in the locker room deal with that? Like in the NFL, everybody's making money. Some guys making $45 million a year, but least guy on the team is making about close to $1 million a year. So everyone's still making some decent money. In college, you may have one kid, 2 or 4 or 5, 6 kids not getting paid at all for NIL, and you'll have another kid on the team making a whole bunch of money, and then you're going to have some kids on the team that's playing better than the kid that's making more money than them. And then, can you handle all those different things from a maturity standpoint? Because anytime money gets involved in a lot of things, there comes a lot of selfishness. And can your team still be unselfish? That's what made college football much more fun than NFL. I tell people that now. In college, like everyone was shooting for that victory. You playing hard on Saturdays to win. And, of course, you want to make it to that next level. But that was after you taking care of your victories first. And for us, man, we want to go out with a bang and, have our, season to be a remembered season. And we had an opportunity to go into the National Football League. But just to say, like, nowadays you got kids choosing schools not off of fit, but how much money they feel like they can make out of that school. And you're going to have some kids that's going to make the wrong decisions and choose other schools where their talent would have fit somewhere else, and then they probably could have had a chance to go into the league and make some money for themselves and family once they get to that level. But because they chose the short term over the long term, they go somewhere else where they may sit, they may not play, and everything. They become unhappy, and they're not where they want to be because they chose that reason, because they feel like from an NIL standpoint, they would have got more money. It cost them an opportunity for a longer term career.
Yeah, NIL.
Yeah, Tal, what do you think?
So yeah, this is something I've talked about a lot. It's an incredibly interesting topic to me because through college I did moot court, undergraduate moot court. I was all prepped my whole life basically to go to law school. Had my law school picked out, everything. And an undergraduate moot court, it's a simulated Supreme Court trial. So with University of North Texas, they'd fly me all over the country to do moot court trials. And the only reason I picked UNT over Alabama, because I had scholarship to go to Alabama, was UNT's moot court team, which was nationally ranked. But because of that, like I kind of look at the NIL perspective from a legal perspective. And one of the things that's the most frustrating to me is if you look at the NCAA and the timeline, 10 days before the NIL announcement came out, the Supreme Court had just ruled on NCAA versus Alston, which was taking a very direct view of the antitrust business structure within the NCAA. And essentially the Supreme Court in that ruling basically almost zoomed out of the picture. And Justice Kavanaugh was the one that did it. And if you're familiar with Justice Kavanaugh at all, he's very pro-business. So for him to look at a business and say your whole entire structure is suspect, no other institution in the nation could get away with this. And from the outside looking in, that tells me that the Supreme Court wants someone to open up basically an open-ended lawsuit against the NCAA so that it can go up the ladder and it can arrive at their desk so that they can rule on the antitrust structure of the NCAA. I've always been very uncomfortable with people not being able to be paid for their name, image, and likeness, because when I was at University of North Texas, I had high schools in the Denton area because I'm 20 minutes north of Dallas. I had high schools from Denton to Dallas call me and say, hey, we want you to come teach the kids public speaking. We want you to come teach them public policy, how to advocate for things. And I could get paid doing that. But I didn't garner any of the revenue that the UNT football players did for our institution. I garnered a little bit of revenue for our institution, but nothing close to what the football team did. But I was the one that was allowed to profit off of my name, image, and likeness by doing tutoring, by going to different high schools and doing these events and stuff. And so I had a lot of friends that were on UNT's football team. I just was very uncomfortable with the fact that I could profit when I didn't really net my university anything close to what these athletes net. I mean, the average 5-star in 2022 nets the university $500,000 when they step on campus before they've ever played a game. That I've always been very uncomfortable, but it's super interesting to hear from you about the dynamics within the locker room. And I think the question I'd want to ask you is, whenever we're talking about this, would it make more sense for the NCAA or some power that wants to try and help this process for there to be a salary cap where every team in the nation gets the exact same amount of money to work with? That way, everybody on the team has some level of NIL being able to be at their access.
Yeah, I'm talking about that's a goal, like you want every kid on the team to receive some form of NIL, because I just don't believe it's fair for some kids not to. And then you got others that's getting a lot of money. These are all still high school kids coming into college and everything. Like I say, you can't get your NIL deal until you get into on campus. But you know how it is. You have some schools and everything, like you hear about Coach Saban and Jimbo going at it and everything. So you look at the Texas A&M, the Texas, and the USCs. A lot of these schools are deep wealthy in money, and they're pretty much going to try to buy themselves championships. How do you I like the salary cap talk just because it keeps recruiting now. If you don't have a salary cap, then the top end schools that can buy all the players per se, or get all the players NIL deals per se, once they're on campus, they're going to outspend a lot of other schools because they have the resources and everything. So I do like the salary cap standpoint. It makes it a little bit more even playing field across, but that's the whole thing. I just right now, it's just so wide open, man. Where I see a lot of kids, it seems like their focus is primarily on the money aspect instead of, why am I choosing this school? No one even talks about the education part no more. No one even talks about, people forget that out of these kids, only 2% of them have a chance to go play in the National Football League. So you're talking about another 98% that's going to go on into the real world. So you need to first teach these kids how to savage their money. And then, secondly, understand taxes. But now what you created is so many of these families are putting pressure on their kids to try to bail them out of bad debts and bad decisions that they made in the past. And when you do that, you're going to have these kids feeling pressure to go to certain schools, not because they really want to, but because they feel like they got to go there to help bail out their parents or bail out their family instead of other way around.
And what scares me the most about that? College football is $1 billion industry. And now that name, image, and likeness is in the game, the most direct way for a new player to make money in the industry is by dealing with NIL, because they can actually have access to the players. Mm-hmm. So because this system is so new, and I bring up the Supreme Court case, NCAA versus Alston, because the Supreme Court set the NCAA in their sights. All of a sudden, 10 days later, after years of nothing, the NCAA knows how to do NIL. So this, to me, it looks like something that was patched together by the NCAA, which is why different states were allowed to do different things. Like Texas, they could do things NIL-wise that the state of Alabama, that the state of Florida couldn't because of unequal state laws. Correct. But the thing I worry about the most is bad faith actors in the space who are only here to take advantage of the athlete, because now that's one of the most direct ways to get access to this billion-dollar industry that is college football, as the way the revenue is split is shifting. That's something that I have a great fear about, because of the point you made. There are some times where these families, they don't come from a whole lot, right? Like, and this is an outlet. How do we stop bad faith actors from taking advantage of the athletes at a degree? Because these are 18-year-old kids a lot of the time, right? Like I've done law prep and I still barely know how to read a contract. It's just wild to me.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Campbell.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, a lot of these kids now, man, are getting agents in college, and a lot of them don't need agents, for the name, image, and likeness standpoint. But they feel like to go out and get bigger deals, they need agents. So then a lot of these agents, are not even looking at opportunities for these kids that can better fit them. Some of them are looking at it like, I'm only going to take the deals that are going to get them a whole lot of money so I can get a big cut, instead of like giving them an opportunity to take some of those smaller deals and keep working towards it and letting them know that everything counts. But a lot of them, they are poisoning these kids' minds and try to ride these kids' coattails. So you're dealing with that, and you're dealing with just, people trying to make decisions for their kids off finance rather than, man, how you feel about this school? How does it fit you? How does it fit your family? From an education standpoint, what is it that you want to study in college? Like don't forget the college aspect. Like when these kids finish playing in college, like I said, most of them don't go into the NFL. Now you have the USFL, you have the XFL coming out, so you have all these opportunities for kids to continue to play the love of the game. But at the same time, let's just face it, you can't live off $200,000 for the rest of your life. So you got to know how to manage that, even when you go into the real world, and know like, hey, what a gift it is to have $200,000 in your bank account when you enter the real world, because not many people can say that. A lot of kids end up in debt when they first start off out of college because of student loans and things. You have an opportunity to put a down payment on something if you wanted to. You have cushion that a lot of people don't.
All right, Jason, Al, I got a question. We just saw Tracy Rocker at the time 2004 get inducted to the College Football Hall of Fame. Who else right now do you know that has not been inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame that has wore the Auburn jersey, and you're looking forward to seeing him being inducted?
Good question.
Good question, because I don't know who the hell's in it and who isn't. I mean, I should, but I don't. I'm sure. I mean, I bet you there's a few that should be.
I mean, do you think we could see a Jason Campbell maybe?
Well, you got my vote. Yeah, I mean,
see why not.
It's just Cadillac Williams. Of the three guys, the guys that were Carlos Rogers,
Al Borges, maybe.
No, they don't put assistant coaches in the Hall of Fame. Unfortunately,
I don't know if Keo Spike's in there yet. I have no idea.
I don't either. I'd have to see a list of who's in it, and then I could make that, determination. I have a better feel for who's in the NFL Hall of Fame, to be honest.
I mean, you got Peyton Manning. He's in the College Football Hall of Fame. You got Bo Jackson. You got,
But those are kind of no-brainers, though. They're in there. But some of the linemen that people haven't heard about as much.
Ron Simmons from Florida State.
Yeah. Marcus McNeil was a 3-year starter, Jason? Maybe a 4-year starter. I don't know.
A 4-year starter.
Yeah, there's a guy that you definitely. I doubt he's in there, but he should.
All right.
Be somebody you look at.
Have y'all been to the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta?
No, but I'd love to go.
Yeah, I've been. It's pretty awesome. They have a lot of events there each year, but yeah, I've been. It's pretty cool.
I was telling Al about me kicking the field goal over there, and I broke my shoe.
Yeah,
and I had to walk around pretty much hobbling the whole time because my shoe was broke. And yeah, just like you, just kind of looking at me, they had the same response, like, "Okay, you broke your shoe. Why was you kicking the field goal, you jerk?"
This is why we can't take you anywhere.
Yeah.
That's become apparent.
Only on the
Can't
CTS.
take him anywhere. Can't leave him anywhere.
No.
Oh, dang. They trust me. My parents have tried.
Yeah,
So
we think about Auburn this year. Bama fan.
we actually made a bet last season, and you bet it. I told you if Auburn beat Alabama, I would come on my show with an Auburn cap and an Auburn T-shirt, and I was going. I don't know if you remember this. You was on the CTS last season, and you and me made a bet, and you told me, Auburn's going to beat Alabama, and I kind of snickered, and you said, I'll tell you what, Jason, if Auburn wins, I'll come on my show with an Auburn cap and an Auburn shirt. I'll be dressed out in Auburn, and shit you not. I'm sitting there watching the Iron Bowl, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to be.
They had that game. All we got to do is find a way to stay in bounds.
Stay in bounds. Oh, God.
Find a way to get off the fourth down on defense.
Yeah.
I was on Amazon shopping. I was like, man, I better not. Man, I'm starting looking at prices.
I just recently did a rewatch of that game, and I don't know where my notebook is. I think it's sitting behind me, actually. But I had charted the percentage of passes that were beyond 20 yards downfield, right? Like how many times were all of Bama's receivers like just deep? Because they couldn't block Auburn's front to save their life. And it was just like time after time, every receiver is 20 yards deep. I'm sitting there with my hands in the air, like you can't hold this defensive line. You have no time to throw it was the most perplexing thing I've ever seen.
Well, it's going to be a little different this Iron Bowl.
It confuses me.
It's going to be a little different. Alabama's going to dominate. Ain't that right, Jason?
I don't know, man. Y'all, I don't know. Sometimes when Auburn just kind of got a lot of smoke going on, they can rise to the occasion. So
I'm just happy it's not in Jordan Hare.
Their first five games is at home, so I think people got them going 6-6 or winning 7 games. I actually think they could win 9 games this year at least, just because your first 5 at home, and anytime if you can win those first 5, like your confidence of your football team goes through the roof. So now anything can happen.
But right now we're not in 2022. We're in 2004. We got 6 minutes and 29 seconds left in the fourth quarter. Borges, y'all about to get the ball. What's the game plan? Just hold the ball.
The game plan is right about now. It's to light a cigar because this thing's over. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this is the most boring part of the game.
Yeah, you came into the boring part because this thing's basically done. So we're gonna run the clock out, and then we're gonna go. I'm about. Let me see, what is it right now? About an hour and a half from right there, I will be with my feet up on my stool on my chair with a martini to my right and a cigar, my martini in my right hand and a cigar in my left hand.
What did you do after victory games like this? Did you go out there in Tumor's Corner and have?
Who you asking, Jason or me?
Jason.
Ah, shoot. I know what I did. I went and got something to eat and probably went to the house and relaxed a little bit and watched some more football on TV. And that's probably what I did. I was pretty much locked in that year. I wasn't, I was.
Did you ever go to that club? What was that club? The Blue Room?
Oh yeah. I went a couple times. Every time a teammate saw me out, they'd be like, "Oh, here comes a detective," because I would come up. Because I always came up to him and started talking to him and everything. Like, hey, man, don't be drinking too much. Don't do this. You know what I'm saying? Like, we got practice and all this stuff. And they'd be like, here come detective. But, yeah.
I guess we could tell Coach Al Burgess about the Blue Room. It was a club, Al. Where college kids went.
I didn't make it to that club. I don't know. I was,
I got in a lot of trouble in the Blue Room.
He probably was Coach Borges probably somewhere propped up having a cocktail.
That was me watching more football. There's nothing more enjoyable.
That was that liquor we talked about.
Yeah, there's nothing more enjoyable than watching a football game after you've won a football game.
I suppose the opposite is true then. There's nothing worse than watching a football game after you've lost a football game.
Well, I wouldn't know that in 2004, but I'll take
There
your
you
word
go.
for it.
There you go.
Jason.
Yeah, people forget we won 15 straight.
I don't want to see this. I don't want to see this. Ronnie.
We need to get him out of there, Jace. It's time for him to go sit down.
Yeah, Ben would have blocked that other guy. He'd have scored.
He'd been gone, I know. We need to take your ass out of there and his ass out of there.
I saw that run before it even happened.
I think I had a gimpy ankle that game too. I think I heard it the week before.
Yeah.
No, Coach Al, Coach Borges, why is Jason still in the game?
That's what I'm asking. I don't know why didn't we? We took Ronnie. I think we took him out after this.
I'm talking about Jason.
I know. Ronnie, we're going to take him out in a minute. Shit, all he's doing is handing off, for goodness sakes.
Yeah, I was going to say I was doing handing off at that point.
Rocket scientry here. But
I need 3 more yards for 300, though. I don't know that during the game.
How many more did you need?
3 yards. If I knew that during the game.
Oh, jeez. We just should have thrown a hitch.
I would check for a slant.
Yeah, nobody tells you that when you're coaching, though. You
know? I'll do a slant. I get done with it. That's it. All right, coming out the game.
Are you coming out now?
Nah, I don't even remember.
I don't either. But this time, this is a yawner.
Yeah, I didn't remember it. Right here, we're just running, pounding the ball right now.
I don't know, but this was 38-14, but it may as well have been 138-14 because we never felt challenged in this game in terms of
when I contacted you about the watch along, I said,
"Oh, there's Cox. There's my man Cox.
Yeah, there's a lefty. B. Cox.
There he is. He gonna throw a pass.
Cox came in and threw a pass,
and damn near got a pick. He did get a pick. What am I talking? You better tackle him now.
That's Dunlap.
What? Who called that play? Whoa! I got to know who called that play.
That was me. I think Tuberville was yelling, "Throw a pass!" though, if I'm not mistaken, because it was Arkansas and he wanted to rub it in a little bit.
Yeah, I think he's trying to get him some reps too, though.
Yeah, heck yeah. Like I say, I don't think they're any threat at this point.
Yeah,
but that's good ball security by that guy. That's good.
I was going to ask something. I totally forgot.
Cox shaved his head.
Cox got a buzz cut there.
All right.
He's funny, man. He used to never talk. He like you. You're not quiet. You used to be. Now you never shut up. He's the same way. He talks all the time now.
Yeah. He lives right about 10 minutes from me.
Does he? Do you ever see him?
I see him sometimes. Matter of fact, I'm going to try to get up, start golfing with him a little bit more but he got kids now and everything too.
I know.
I think he's in like real estate and stuff.
Yeah.
But like Wesley, all them guys.
Yeah, Georgia. They live in Atlanta, near Atlanta. He told me he'd moved.
Yeah, smart guys stay away from the cold weather.
Yeah. Yeah, smart. I'm an idiot. I live in Michigan.
Yeah, like
real smart. Look at that guy there.
Right there, Jason.
Or a super taller.
I don't know. I'm trying to decide whether you look better with a beard. You don't look very good either way. So
I'm just trying to figure out who was giving my hairline back then. It looked kind of bad.
Oh God, we gave him a little token shot at the end there.
We got a touchdown, y'all. 20. Arkansas is playing that comeback.
Yeah. This was like the most points anybody scored on us in the conference, I think. And we kind of gave them this last one.
20 was the most until the SEC championship game.
Yeah, championship game. They got what, 28?
Yeah, 28.
Yeah.
Coach Burgess. Now, when I talked to you about this watch along, the original plan was the bowl game. Why did you pick this game? What was so important about this game?
I don't know. This was just, like I said in the book, I called it the play caller's dream because I just thought this was a cool game to analyze because there's a lot of cool stuff going on offensively. But we could have picked a lot of different games, and we didn't. I mean, we didn't have a lot of bad offensive games this year.
No, no, you did not.
No. So this just seemed like I thought this game we kind of hit our stride. That's probably why. I mean, we had played real well at Tennessee. We played La Tech, I think, the next week. We pretty much took care of them. And we played this game. We played really well, and it was an indication. Then I think we played Kentucky, and we took care of them pretty early. And we struggled the first half of Ole Miss, but then took it to them in the second half and ended up winning that game going away. So, I mean, we have spotty halves at time where we didn't play as well, maybe in the first half as the second half. Whatever. Like Alabama, we've been playing well in the first half, but we played well in the second half. But this game had a real good flavor to it. I mean, we could have picked Tennessee, but, you know, we got ahead of Tennessee and pretty much just ran a clock out in the second half. So, this just seemed like it was the pinnacle of our offense.
The game ended at 28. Pretty much it was 38-20, and that was the score. And pretty much nothing happened after that, y'all. But this is what I wanted to ask y'all at the end of the game. Y'all, I think y'all became 7-0 at this game, I believe. 6-0 or 7-0. Was the national championship buzz ringing at this time, Jason? Was you thinking national championship? Was you thinking, well, I mean, what was going through your head? Because, you know, the whole country thought that this team was probably the best team in the country, except for the AP and the coaches poll. But everybody,
AP always, you know, they was haters. I think a lot of those guys didn't like Tuberville, you know. So I think some of those coaches in AP poll was kind of biased, but I don't think we was thinking about that as this much at this time of the season. I think we were still riding a roller coaster of winning games and just taking it one game at a time. Like nobody ever talked about national championship or anything. We always talked about winning the next game and first of all, win our side of the division to get to Atlanta and then focus on winning the SEC championship game and then let the chips fall where they may. So we always for the most part, kept their perspective in order. Like you didn't see guys, you know, too busy talking about the things that we couldn't control because I believe today the reason the playoffs are here is because of what happened that season.
I agree with that.
Whole playoff talk. So
no doubt.
I think if that didn't happen, I don't think it would have got started.
Yeah. We were the BCS's biggest nightmare. What happened is too many good teams at the top but our team was, you know, all the noise didn't come from us. All the noise came from everybody else. You know, they look like they're making a run and all that. But our guys, we played them one at a time. I mean, that sounds cliche-ish, but it was true. We had a core of leaders on our team that demanded that we maintain focus, and it wasn't necessarily the coaches. It was the players that we took every game as it came. And that's how we played the entire schedule. Were we disappointed when we didn't get picked to play? Hell yeah, we were. But what we did is we found our new target was Virginia Tech, and we went after them.
Yeah, that was about to be my question. Because, I mean, coming off the season where all you can do is play the teams that are in front of you, and y'all did that as well as anybody could have possibly drawn up. So when you go through a season like that, having the level of dominance you do and being as balanced as you were, right? Joey asked earlier about 2004 versus 2010. To me, I think, Jason, you hit the nail on the head. The balance that 2004 squad had, offensive, defensive, the ability to run, the ability to pass. I mean, y'all just didn't have a weak area on that team. How difficult was that to go from such a high to then knowing that you're not going to compete for a national championship when you've done everything possible asked to then having to play in a bowl game, which is still huge, but knowing where you should be?
Well, the first and foremost was still finish the drill. You know, you don't want to go 12-0 and then get to the last game and then, you know, lose that game. You know, you wanted to, that's your last game of your college career. And it still was a national televised game. We was the only game on that night. We was the night before the national championship game. And so for us, it was an opportunity to make a statement against a really, really good Virginia Tech team. Virginia Tech team had USC beat that year. So we knew we was running up against a Frank Beamer team that was going to play, you know, rough and and play tenacious. And so we knew we had a game that we had to soon turn our focus to. And if you lose that game, everybody would say, oh, they wasn't as good as we thought they were. So, you always wanted to finish the drill. And we actually beat that game pretty handily. It was back and forth defensive battle, two really good defenses. But at the same time, though, like a lot of it for us had stopped because of, like I said, we kind of called the dolls off late in the game. We was ready to just try to end it and get out of there healthy and get out of there finishing 13-0. And I think they end up busting a long run and end up getting sneaking another touchdown in. But, the score didn't indicate how bad, how we really handled that game and everything. But from an aspect of, I tell anybody, I say, hey, we are still remembered big in history because we changed college football. Coach Borges is the one that started a lot of that different offense stuff. A lot of people don't realize, like, we were playing against some really good defenses that year. Alabama, I think, had the number one ranked defense when we played them in Tuscaloosa. Like I said, Coach Saban was at LSU with Muschamp, and all them was on that defensive side. Tennessee was supposed to have a pretty good defense. Their linebackers was talking so much noise before we played them. So, there was just game after game after game that had its own story. Like I said, but, everyone should read Coach Borges' book just because, you don't get a chance too often to hear the inside of how things transpire and how things go. You can watch the games and everything, but when you get inside people's ears and actually can, like, while you watch the game, you actually can read about it. And you go back and you watch the season, you're like, oh, now this makes sense. That makes sense. This is why they did this. This is why they did that. And just understand the battles. Like, people always see the outside of things, but there are some battles on the inside, being fought all the time. And, the competition and just, when you're winning, like, it makes everybody around you want to be better. So it makes you push everybody. So sometimes guys' buttons get pushed a little bit more because it gets more intense the more you win. I remember the Bama week, we was getting ready to go to Bama, and Eddie Grand was just going off on us offensively out there on the field. We was pressing in the stadium. I don't know if Coach remember this, but he was going off. And, because he didn't want guys to start feeling good, about what we've done. We got to finish the drill. You didn't want to get set up for failure. So, I think the book is going to be awesome. Like I said, I think Coach has done a tremendous job and everything because people want to know, people want to hear about it. And like I said, he's retired now and he has more time than anybody on his hands to sit and think about it and in details. And when you coach football as many years as he's coached football, there's so much insight and so much intellect. And I think from that aspect, people really, really want to know. And I think, the best person that could have wrote this book and did it was him. And he gave me the opportunity to have a paragraph or two in there. So, I appreciated that. But at the same time, man, like what an awesome year. And for the most part, what people don't realize is the togetherness of that team. Like, we still communicate with a lot of guys on that team. You don't talk every day because everybody had their families and different things and tied up. But when we see each other, we're talking. If it's twice a year or 3 times a year, we're communicating some way, somehow.
All right. Coach Borges, final thoughts of this wonderful season you guys had.
Well, there's only when you coach for 43 years like I did, there's only a few very, very special teams. And sometimes there's only one, and I was lucky. I won 9 or 10 championships in 4 different conferences. So I coached a lot of special teams, but there's only once in a while do you coach an undefeated team that has a majestic synergy that is second to none. I came in and fell into a gold mine. I talk about it a lot in the book. I talk about it in the depiction on the back of the book, and had to build the trust of a bunch of kids that didn't know me from Adam, and certainly saw someone that on the surface they weren't sure they could relate to, but because we built that trust from an offensive perspective and in turn from a team perspective, what happened. And that's really what makes it so special, so different. So, and 18 years after the fact, when I've been able to watch football, coach after that, coaching at Michigan and other places, I have an appreciation for just how special the football team was. And this book gave me an opportunity to a last-ditch effort to explain to people why this team was indeed the best team in the country and still should be considered to this day the best team in the country when you consider all the things that have happened since then. It was indeed an honor to have that chance. And that's really all I can say. It is the crescendo to my professional career.
Well, the honor is all mine and Ty's. Jason,
Absolutely.
Jason, Al, every time I need y'all, y'all always come on. Y'all mean so much to the CTS, and I humbly mean this. I love both of you guys, and please don't make yourselves a stranger. I know, Jason, you're gonna be busy this fall. I know you're gonna be busy drinking cocktails and watching football, but if y'all wanted to come back on the CTS, you're more than welcome, and I thank you for coming down memory lane with us. All right, now that's the book right there. You got in the middle of the screen. Make sure y'all go check it out when it comes out. Ty.
Yes, sir.
You was a baby when this game was going on. How did you feel to talk to two legends, Al Borges and one of the all-time greats in the NFL, Jason Campbell?
I mean, you already know I'm one of the biggest college football nerds you'll probably ever meet in your life. So that was unbelievable to me. I mean, I could sit there probably all day and bug Coach Borges and bug Jason, just trying to pick their brain about football knowledge. I mean, if it was just me, I could have talked to Coach Borges about the route modifications and stuff like that for hours, just because it's fascinating to me. So that was awesome. What an awesome opportunity to be able to just talk to people that have such extensive football knowledge.
Now, you did one today. You want to do another one?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, because we got one coming up.
Yeah, you just let me know before. If I'm able to go, I'm here. AC is now on. My studio was the other day I did a video, and at the end of the video, it was when Richard Young committed to Alabama. I did the video, and at the end of it, I said, I got to get out of here in the studio. I put a thermometer in here. It was 98 degrees in the studio of my house. So yeah, thank God the AC is back on.
Well, we'll talk off air. It's going to be kind of hard, doing my final stint. You know what my stints are. You know what I do after each. I don't know if I should do it, though. Auburn fans are going to be watching this. Don't do it. If I don't do it, I'm not going to be true to myself in the CTS.
No.
All right. I'll put it this way. Auburn fans, this video was for y'all. I hope you had a good time, and I'll leave it at that. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, subscribe right now, because I'm pretty sure we're going to get copyright strike like a mug on this video. Subscribe, and with that said, everybody, we are out.